Chapter 1207. 2 days later, Zhou Binlong's 350,000 troops entered the frigid smoke wasteland as promised. However, they did not launch an attack immediately. Instead, they set up camp 20 miles away. The army needed to rest after a long journey. Zhou Binlong had led the troops for a long time, so he understood this simple principle. Otherwise, if they launched an attack with a tired army, they would only be at a disadvantage. Late at night, the camp was silent. Just when the guards were dozing off, a figure descended from the sky and landed in front of the commander's tent at an extremely fast speed. "Who's that?" The guards drew their swords. "It's me." The newcomer took off his cloak, revealing a cold face. It's Deputy Commander Haiyu." "Deputy Commander, why are you here so late?" "I want to see Commander Zhou." "The commander is here. I'll pass the message to you now." "There's no need for that. I'll go in myself." Without any explanation, he strode into the commander's tent. After all, he was a superior devil deity. His status in the Celestial Empire was second only to Qin Yu and was completely above Zhou Binlong. Swoosh, 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 the sudden arrival caused the candlelight to flicker wildly. Zhou Binlong, who was behind the commander's desk, looked up and quickly stood up. "Deputy Commander, you're here. I'm sorry for not welcoming you earlier. I didn't know that Deputy Commander would come so late at night. I'm here on behalf of His Majesty." Haiyu sat down and said, "Commander Zhou, do you know your crime for leading the troops into battle without His Majesty's imperial edict? But His Majesty ordered me to guard Scorching City and act according to the circumstances. Now, I'm acting according to the circumstances. Ji City has been under attack for a long time, and Lin Muyu's troops have suffered heavy losses. This is the best time for me to attack." "Humph, you don't know what you're talking about." Haiyu sneered. "The Southern Patrol Army has been completely annihilated. Song Liangqing has also been killed. Commander Zhou has fallen into Lin Muyu's trap. Don't tell me you're still unaware." "Trap? That's right." Haiyu said, "His Majesty said that Lin Muyu is extremely smart. Since he has decided to fight with you, he must have the confidence to win. No matter how you defend, Lin Muyu must have a trump card to catch you off guard. His Majesty said that although Commander Zhou leads the troops well, you're not Lin Muyu's match. Please be careful." "Very well, as your Majesty has said, the two armies are now facing each other and are less than 20 miles away from each other. It's too late for me to retreat even if I want to. What can I do in haste? We can only pray for divine weapons to descend from the heavens." Haiyu smiled with a taboo expression. "Divine soldiers descending from the heavens. What does that mean?" "Tomorrow, a 15,000-strong Devil World army will descend on the battlefield. Just wait and watch the show. Pass down the order. Tomorrow, change half of our army's flags to the Devil World's war flags to avoid accidental injuries." Zhou Binlong was stunned. Our empire has already surrendered to the demon world? What else? It's nice to be under a big tree. You should understand this simple logic, right?" "I understand. Deputy Commander, please stay and supervise the battle. We need your strength for tomorrow's battle." "Don't worry. I have no intention of leaving. I will personally witness Lin Muyu's destruction." "All right." The next day, the war drums rumbled. In the early morning, the Terminus Earth Army had already launched an attack. Lin Muyu sent the Jia Demon Camp and the Blade Shield Camp to meet them. The two sides fought fiercely on the plains and could not determine the winner. Until noon, the battle cries were heard. Wei Chou and Fengxi each led 2 strong troops to the center of the Terminus Earth Army. Dong, 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 the war drums rumbled. Zhou Binlong, who was in the center of the army, did not look good. The winged cavalry came and went in front of the war chariot. Reporting to Commander, Wei Chou's cavalry broke through the blockade of our left army. The left army suffered heavy losses. Deputy Commander Lu requests reinforcements. "Commander, Fengxi's cavalry is too fierce. The right army can't hold on any longer. There are deserters. Reporting to commander, the enemy's artillery fire is too fierce. The vanguard battalion has suffered heavy losses. Please send the Far East Army to help. Commander, the enemy's formation has changed. Our cavalry camp is surrounded. Zhou Binlong's face became more and more unsightly. Beside him, Qiu had a ruthless look on his face. He smiled and said, Commander Zhou, have you seen Lin Muyu's power? If he is not 100% sure, he will not fight with you. Deputy Commander, the reinforcements you mentioned. Why are they not here yet? Zhou Binlong gritted his teeth. Ku Yu smiled faintly. That is the army of the devil world. Do you think they are at your beck and call? Wait quietly. They will definitely come today. The only thing you have to do is to hold on for one day. Don't tell me that your 350,000 strong army can't even withstand one day of Lin Muyu's attack. I heard that Lin Muyu only has about 200,000 troops. They are far less powerful than yours. Zhou Binlong was speechless. His eyes turned cold. He glanced at the generals beside him and said, Commanders, the Far East Army should stop watching the show. Go to war and directly attack Lin Muyu's battle formation. Block their cavalry's charge. I will personally lead the military police battalion to supervise the battle. Anyone who retreats will be killed without mercy. The Far East Army was a patchwork army. In reality, it was 6 armies put together. In the end, the 6 commanders did not look too good. However, they could not disobey the military order. They could only cup their hands and say, I will go to war immediately. The 150,000-strong Far East Army was divided into 6 groups. 2 of them went to block Wei Chou and Fengxi's cavalry. The other group attacked Lin Muyu's infantry formation. However, the magic crystal cannons were very concentrated. Most of the soldiers became cannon fodder when they rushed forward. The morale of the army was already cold. Attack! Attack! The generals at the back shouted. They knew that once they cowered, they would be defeated. The Longdan army camp and Baizei's mercenaries would arrive soon. At that time, they would truly be in a desperate situation. The battle continued until dusk. The 150,000-strong Far East Army had lost more than half. The End of Earth Army had also suffered heavy losses. After more than 30% of the army died, the morale of the army was in chaos. There were many deserters. The military police battalion at the back had already unsheathed their swords. They continued to kill the deserters. At that moment, Zhou Binlong's army was in a dilemma. Still not here? Still not here? Zhou Binlong was about to go crazy. In a day, his End of Earth army had already been severely reduced. If the reinforcements that Qiu mentioned did not come, the End of Earth army would most likely be removed from the Celestial Empire's army. Qiu raised his head to look at the starry sky. They're here. They're finally here. Zhou Binlong's body trembled. Really? He raised his head and saw streaks of red starlight landing on the plains behind him. Peng peng peng, the sound of falling did not stop. Each sound meant the death of a demonic general. Not long after, the sharp roar of the winged Mara reverberated in the sky above the plains. On the ground, Stinger Mara was moving at an extremely fast speed. Mara's fighting power was so strong that he tore apart the defeated soldiers of the End of Earth army. At the same time, he rushed towards the armor demon battalion that was chasing after him. Roar! The armor demon at the front roared. The iron spine in its hand struck towards Stinger Mara like lightning. However, Stinger Mara was too fast. His strength was also astonishing. His sharp claws swept across and tore the iron spine apart. At the same time, the armor demon's body also split into pieces. Green acidic blood splattered everywhere. It was a tragic sight. Almost in an instant, the attack of the armor demon battalion was countered by the countless Mara army. Oh no, it's the army of the devil world. The long sword in Tang Xiaoxi's hand was glowing with fire. Lin Muyu rode on the warhorse. Xian Yuan's sword was stained with blood in her hand. Looking at Mara, who was constantly rushing towards them, she could not help but tremble. She looked up at the sky and murmured, "God, why are you torturing me like this?" Beside her, Situ Shui said, "Milord, shall we retreat? Where can we retreat?" Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. "If we retreat, Mara's army and Zhou Binlong will definitely start to chase us. At that time, we will be faced with a rout, a desperate rout. We will all be wiped out. But now, we will all be wiped out." Looking at the soldiers of the Longdan army camp being easily killed, Lin Muyu felt an indescribable pain in her heart. She held the Xian Yuan sword tighter in her hand, raised the sharp sword, and shouted in a low voice, "Brothers, if dying on the battlefield is our destiny, then face it bravely. Follow me to kill the devil. The righteousness of heaven and earth, the vast and everlasting. Use our blood to create a chance for victory on the Western Front. Fight." Situ Sen, Lu Bai, and others pulled out their sharp swords. The appearance of the evil Luo army meant that a crushing defeat was coming. When there was no way to escape, they could only face it. There was no other choice. Lin Muyu, Situ Sen, and the others were ordinary people, but they were also soldiers. They were weaker than gods, but they were stronger than these ferocious demons in front of them. The will to fight had long been engraved in their bones, and could never be erased. At this time, this battle was no longer just about the chaos of the empire, but also a war to defend the righteousness. Die. The Xian Yuan sword swept out with the power of reincarnation, and suddenly the bodies of 3 poisonous stingers of Mara instantly evaporated into a mist of blood. Lin Muyu took the lead and rushed into the enemy group, while Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin flew in the air with sharp swords, using the divine power of the Mahayana heavenly path to kill the demons. The two of them were the real main force of the battle. However, there were too many of Mara's army. After sweeping through, the newly formed vanguard camp of the Longdan army camp had lost more than half of its soldiers. Clang! A huge shock came from her arm, and Lin Muyu was sent flying with her horse. In the air, a demon general holding a war hammer looked at her with a vicious expression. Die! The war hammer came crashing down, and Lin Muyu forcibly stabilized the chaotic blood vessels. She dodged the attack with falling star steps, and the Xian Yuan sword stabbed directly at the enemy's neck at a tricky angle. Puff! Demon blood splattered, and the Xian Yuan sword stabbed about 5 centimeters into the demon general's neck. However, the demon general's vitality was strong, and with a roar, he swept the war hammer away. With a dull bang, Lin Muyu's body was blasted away like a sandbag. In the air, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were surrounded by countless winged Mara, and their figures could hardly be seen. Lin Muyu's ears were filled with violent roars, and he could hardly hear anything else. However, with his eyes flowing with blood, he saw Situ Sen, Wei Chou, Si Kongyao, and the others being blasted off their horses by Mara one by one, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Countless Mara swept past, and the glory of the empire was almost gone in an instant. In the air, a person slowly flew over. It was the 3rd-tier superior demon god, Huan Yu, the deputy commander of the Celestial Empire. Lin Muyu, you've been smart your whole life, but in the end, aren't you going to die here? Your Longdan army camp is known as the strongest army in the world, but in the end, aren't you going to be annihilated here? Ha 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 ha. Are you not satisfied? Come, let go of your hatred and enter the demon Dao, how about that? Kill the enemy, Lin Muyu vomited a large mouthful of blood. Around him, Mara launched attacks one after another, but they were all blocked by him. Some of them couldn't block, and he could only rely on his body's defense to endure. In the blink of an eye, his body was covered with wounds, but no matter how painful it was not as painful as watching Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Si Kongyao, and the others being defeated, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Kill. I want to stop this battle by killing. The light in Lin Muyu's eyes intensified, and the blood in his body seemed to start boiling. The Xianyuan's sword in his hand shone with a golden light, and with a sudden leap, it landed on the demon general's head. The long sword swept across, and blood splattered. The demon general's head had already been chopped off. With the strength of a mortal, it was impossible to do this, even with a divine weapon in hand. But at this moment, Lin Muyu stood on the demon general's corpse, looking up at the sky. Golden flames lingered around him, like layers of protective walls opening up. He roared, venting the accumulated anger in his heart. In the distant sky, golden seals penetrated the clouds, and one by one, they were imprinted in his mind. The Mahayana heavenly Tao that belonged to him had finally awakened. Chapter 1208. Zzz, around him, strands of blood-red lightning slowly condensed, and endless power flowed into Lin Muyu's body, causing his mind to become unprecedentedly clear. Instantly, countless images flashed across his mind. There was the tragic scene of Chu Huai battling Long Qianlin's troops outside Lanyan City, the battle of the wildfire plains against the demonic race, and the fiery scene of the Battle of the Eastern Sea. These were all battles that Lin Muyu had experienced. These battles had tempered his will, his physique, and his unyielding heart. He lowered his head and looked at the Xianyuan sword. The body of the sword had already been wrapped by the divine power of blood-red lightning. This divine power of lightning was indescribably scorching, unrestrained, and awe-inspiring. It was definitely different from the divine power of Fuxi. It was a kind of resolute, deep, swift, and decisive power, and it was even more powerful than the divine power of Fuxi. In the sky, auspicious clouds lingered, and the heavenly sound scroll quickly refracted a ray of light. It was Lady Nuwa from the realm beyond heaven. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin had already seen her before, and they couldn't help but reveal a solemn expression. Nuwa looked at Lin Muyu with a peaceful expression and said, "Lin Muyu, your body has been tempered by the flames of war. You have killed countless, but your heart is still the same. Now that the heavenly sound scroll has chosen you, it has bestowed upon you a first-class superior deity Dharmakaya, and the title Martial God. You will wield the divine martial heavenly Tao, and the power of the divine martial arts. I hope that you will be invincible in every battle, and open up a prosperous world for the Mahayana heavenly Tao." Lin Muyu slowly knelt on one knee, his body trembling, and said in a low voice, "Thank you, Lady Nuwa. All of you, take care of yourselves." Nuwa's figure suddenly disappeared. "Kill him! Kill him!" A group of Mara screamed madly, and one of the demonic generals roared, "What Mahayana heavenly Tao righteous God? He's just one person. Go, tear him to pieces." In the air, on the ground, and underground, countless Mara rushed over. Lin Muyu's eyes were burning with fighting spirit. She raised her palm and shouted, "Dragon League, Longdan Army Camp, by Zay mercenaries, kill the enemy with me." Buzz, a storm with blood-red lightning swept behind him. For a moment, the injured Wei Chou, Si Kongyao, Situ Sen, Feng Zhanlin, Zhu Long, Chang Liang, and the others all trembled as if they were bathed in a ball of fire. Their injuries no longer hurt, and instead, a powerful force surged in their bodies. Their combat strength was far stronger than before. "Ah, how is this possible?" Wei Chou raised the Hui Bao, but discovered that there were streams of divine power flowing in his palms. Although his strength had increased, it had not advanced by leaps and bounds to the point of transforming into divine power. Situ Sen, Si Kongyao, and the others were also stunned. Like Wei Chou, they all found that their strength had increased greatly and even reached a new realm. Although they knew that this was only a temporary combat state, this temporary change in strength was enough to turn the tide. The power of Saint Martial Arts. All these changes came from the power of Saint Martial Arts. Lin Muyu's mind was unprecedentedly clear. Almost everyone who had temporarily increased their strength by the power of Saint Martial Arts was still vivid in her mind. The Xianyuan's sword in her hand buzzed and hummed. Full of power, she flew over like a bolt of lightning and directly cut the demon general into two with the long sword. At the same time, she looked up and shouted, "Shao Shi, Shao Yin, kill Ku Yu and Mara's army." In the air, although Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were already the main gods of Mahayana heavenly Tao, they were still encouraged by the power of Saint Martial Arts by Lin Muyu, and their strength was temporarily increased by more than half. Flying down, Ku Yu and Qin Yin attacked together. Hurriedly, he stepped on Mara's body and retreated. But how could he escape? Qin Yin's Dong Hua sword tore through the air with amazing momentum. Clang! Just one sword strike broke Ku Yu's battle axe. Then, Tang Xiaoxi pressed her sword down from the air. Ku Yu roared, threw away the battle axe, and waved his hands with demonic flames swirling around them. But how could his palms resist the flames of the breaking flame? With a crack, his right hand was cut off by Tang Xiaoxi at the wrist. Ah! The arrogant Ku Yu howled and retreated, but there was no way out. Behind him was Lin Muyu, who was full of murderous intent. Ku Yu could clearly feel that Lin Muyu's strength was above that of the two goddesses. Even Ku Yu, a third-tier superior god, did not dare to fight with Lin Muyu at all. He gritted his teeth and flew close to the ground. You still want to escape? Lin Muyu suddenly opened her palm, and the momentum of the invisible elephant instantly locked onto Ku Yu. It was as if a giant invisible hand had grabbed him. When Lin Muyu swept her arm, Ku Yu's body turned into a ball of flames and smashed into the group of Mara. Those who came into contact with him were either killed or injured. But Lin Muyu did not intend to let him go. After using Ku Yu's body to sweep a group of Mara, she gently raised her left hand, and the power of reincarnation circulated. With a bang, Ku Yu's body exploded into a rain of blood and demonic flames. Vice Marshal, exploded. On the ground, the soldiers of the Earthen Army were dumbfounded. At the same time, Lin Muyu raised her arm and shouted. The sky suddenly lost its light. Countless stars fell from the sky and smashed into Mara's battle formation. For a moment, miserable screams filled the air. Although Mara was powerful, he was utterly crushed by Lin Muyu, a high god who had just ascended to first tier. Even if 10,000 Mara were to attack at the same time, they would not be able to do anything to the murderous martial god Lin Muyu. More importantly, with the support of the sacred martial energy, the 10,000 soldiers of the Dragon League and the generals of the Longdan army camp became more and more courageous. The strength of Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and the others had completely crushed Mara. After riding past them, the tables were turned. The invincible Mara became the target of slaughter. As for the Earthen Army and the Far East Army, they had long lost their will to fight and began to collapse. No one would have thought that in less than a day, the 350,000 soldiers under Zhou Binlong's command would be defeated by just one sacred martial energy from Lin Muyu. Retreat! Retreat at top speed! Zhou Binlong mounted his horse and was about to leave with his sword. However, the warhorses neighed and were unable to move. Their bodies had been locked by a power. It was none other than Lin Muyu who was standing majestically in the air. Zhou Binlong turned around. As if he had seen a demon, he said with a trembling voice, Lin Muyu. Lin General, you want to kill me? Lin Muyu shook his head, I won't kill you. Order your army to immediately surrender. Yes, Zhou Binlong's body trembled. He said to the generals, did you hear that? Surrender. Surrender. Quickly surrender. A deputy general stared at him and said, Commander. We still have at least 150,000 soldiers, and Mara's army. You can't just surrender to the enemy like this, Commander, shut up. If I tell you to surrender, then surrender. Mara's army can't hold on any longer. Hurry. Yes, all the Earthen Army and Far East Army, retreat 10 li and surrender. Zhou Binlong roared. Immediately, the defeat turned into a rout. The Celestial Empire's army quickly retreated from the battlefield, leaving behind Mara's army that was fighting alone. The Moros were born in the demonic world, so they did not know what death and fear were. They continued to fight, but they were already at the end of their rope. With the power of the holy martial arts, almost every one of the 10,000 Dragon Alliance experts that Lin Muyu had brought with her was stronger than the Moros. The Moro's strength became weakness in the blink of an eye, and they quickly became the side that was being slaughtered. After Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi had personally killed a total of 7 demon generals, the battlefield was almost cleared. More than 10,000 Maras were killed in an instant. Their corpses were all piled up on the cold smoke wasteland, and the stench was very pungent. This was a hearty victory. After the battle, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Si Kongyao, Liu Bai, Fengxi, and other generals arrived one after another. All of their faces were full of joy. Lin General, we won. Brother, we won. Ha ha ha, long live the Qin Empire. Lin Muyu turned to look at everyone. The blood-red lightning around his palm gradually dissipated. The holy martial force around everyone also slowly dissipated, returning to the cultivation of mortals. He said, everyone has worked hard. Without your hard work, we wouldn't have won this battle. After this battle, Qin Yu is finished. At this moment, a beam of light descended from the sky. It was Xiao's divine oracle. Her slender body stood in the air and said with a smile, congratulations, you, congratulations, martial god. Lin Muyu was a bit embarrassed. Sister Xiao, congratulations to you for being titled impartial goddess. Xiao giggled. Don't be so polite. The situation in the heavenly pole continent is quite optimistic. How long will it take to unify the heavenly pole continent? Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, 2 months. Is 1 month okay? Xiao said with a deep gaze. Heaven realm needs your strength. Now that the demon realm is invading, it's very difficult for us to resist. Also, we really need your holy martial force. As long as you're here, we can reverse the situation. I'll give you 1 month to end the war in the heavenly pole continent and come to heaven realm to help us. Lin Muyu thought for a while. Okay. Then it's a deal. I'll be leaving first. Sister Xiao, take care. Watching Xiao's figure disappear, Qin Yin frowned. Seems like the war in heaven realm is also very tense. That's for sure. Sister Xiao and the demon emperor can't do it alone. What do we do now? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Lin Muyu clenched his fist. End the war as soon as possible. General Sen, incorporate Zhou Binlong's defeated army into the prison camp. Also, Xiao Yin, give Zhou Binlong the rank of general. Why? Zhou Binlong is just a cowardly person. Giving him a rank will allow us to keep his hundreds of thousands of troops. Otherwise, it'll be easy for things to change. We don't have much time, okay, I'll listen to you. Lin Muyu looked at the generals again and said, General Sen, stay behind to pacify the prison camp. The rest will rest until noon tomorrow. All the cavalry will follow me to attack Scorching Cold City. We'll take it down in 3 days, attack the Fire Element Province in 7 days, destroy the Celestial Empire in half a month, and destroy Yangshang and his kingdom of Shang in 1 month. Yes. Chapter 1209. Victory. Victory. There was laughter in Shiping Prefecture. Feng Jixing held the letter in his hand, his face almost blooming with joy. He said loudly, this is great. This is really great. Let these bastards from the demon realm continue to be arrogant. Now that Yu has stepped into the Mahayana heavenly Tao, who can stop his holy martial power? Qianfeng, Ding Shi, and the others laughed. Outside, Xiang Yu walked in wearing the marshal's cloak and said blankly, what's wrong, General Feng? Feng Jixing raised the letter and said with a smile, there's a letter from the eastern battlefield. Oh. What news? In short, Yu is invincible. Xiang Yu, Qianfeng said with a smile, Duke of the East, Lin General has ascended to the Mahayana heavenly Tao and obtained the holy martial power. He defeated Zhou Binlong's 350,000 troops in the cold smoke wasteland and captured nearly 170,000 people. Now his troops are probably at Scorching Han City. Having lost the Terminus Earth Army, Scorching Han City cannot stop Lin General. Once Scorching Han City falls, the 14 provinces of the Celestial Empire will no longer dare to fight against the Qin Empire. The 14 provinces will naturally be ours. So, the battle on the eastern battlefield is about to end? That's great. Xiang Yu was ecstatic. His hair had already turned white. After fighting for so many years, he was also old. He no longer had the lofty aspirations of the past, but he hoped to live some peaceful and stable days. Feng Jixing said, Lin General and Her Highness Yin have ordered me to defend Shiping City to the death. As long as we restrain Shen Yu's Terminus Heaven Army in Shiping City, Lin General will soon lead the army from Scorching Han City, pass through the Forest of No Return, and directly attack the Terminus Heaven Army. At that time, no matter how omnipotent Shen Yu is, I'm afraid he will not be able to defeat Lin General's army. It is indeed a joyous occasion. Xiang Yu laughed and said, General Feng, I can almost imagine us returning to Lanyan City, receiving our rewards and returning to our fiefs to live a carefree life like Xiaoyao. Ha ha ha. Feng Jixing could not help but laugh. That's right, that's right. However, we should be even more cautious at this moment. Pass down the order, all the armies are to be on guard against any sneak attacks from the enemy. No one can be careless. Yes. On the 28th day of the 6th month, a light drizzle was falling from the sky. The hooves of the horses stepped on the grass that was gradually sprouting, making pitter-patter sounds. The 30,000 light cavalry took the lead and were already less than 10 miles away from Scorching Han City. Lin Muyu took the lead with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi by her side. Wei Chou, Si Kongyao, and the experts of the Dragon League followed behind. They were determined to win this battle. Commander Zhou. Your subordinate is here. Lin General, please give your orders. Zhou Binlong's face was full of respect. He had already changed into the commander's armor of the Qin Empire. He represented 170,000 surrendered soldiers and his status was not to be underestimated, at least in the current situation. Do you think the current general of Scorching Han City, Zhang Xing, will stop us? Your subordinate has already written a letter to Zhang Xing, ordering him to give up the city, but he did not reply. Your subordinate does not know what happened in Scorching Han City, so naturally, I have no confidence. Lin Muyu laughed. I hope Zhang Xing will not resist stubbornly. Otherwise, enough people have died. Yes, General is merciful. At this moment, the messy sound of horse hooves came from the front. It was a group of cavalry holding the flag of the Celestial Empire. There were about 100 of them, and they stopped far away. One of them walked over and said respectfully, General Zhang Xing welcomes Lin General into the city. Si Kongyao laughed. A wise man submits to circumstances. General Zhang Xing is a smart man. Zhang Xing's face was a little ugly. He looked up at Zhou Binlong and did not say anything. In the evening, Lin General led 5,000 light cavalry into the city, and the rest were stationed outside. At this point, Scorching Han City, the capital of the Celestial Empire, had fallen. One day later, Situ Sun led the Longdan army camp, by Zhe mercenaries, and the main force of the prisoner camp to Scorching Han City. In the middle of the night, Lin Muyu ordered the dissolution of the 120,000 people in the prisoner camp and ordered them to return to their homes to farm, leaving only 50,000 troops to be reorganized into the Longdan army camp and by Zhe mercenaries. The war in the Celestial Pole continent was about to end, so there was no longer a need for so many troops. With more troops, there would naturally be more turmoil. Letting the people live and work in peace and contentment was the best policy for a ruler. On the 3rd of July, Lin Muyu led 250,000 troops to attack the Huiyuan province. In the middle of the night on the second day, the army passed through the mountain range. After passing the Forest of No Return, they would reach the border of the Huiyuan province. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The mountain range was very quiet, and only the sound of the marching army, the sound of horses' hooves, and the scraping of armor could be heard. Lin Muyu rode treading snow and walked among the crowd. He tried his best to calm down. He had gradually felt that after becoming a titled martial god, he needed to calm down to eliminate the killing intent in his heart. Otherwise, he would easily fall into a state of killing, and perhaps fall into the demonic path soon. Between good and evil, he became even more cautious after seeing through the Mahayana heavenly way. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd in front. Someone shouted, "Ambush, there's an ambush." "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu stepped into the air and unsheathed his long sword. He shouted in a low voice, "What's going on?" A group of demonic spirits flew down from the mountain range and fought with the soldiers of the Longdan army camp. They were the people of the monster the Arch, Nushur. Lin Muyu raised his hand and activated his sacred martial power. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp on the ground had their battle prowess increased by several times, and it was not a problem for them to fight against the demonic spirits. At the same time, Lin Muyu looked at the pitch-black mountain range with his clear eyes and shouted, "Nushur, don't you want to come out and see me?" A graceful figure appeared on the mountain range. It was the monster the Arch, Nushur. She was dressed in a white robe and was still hugging her pipa. She looked exactly the same as when they first met. "I'm here to congratulate King Qin for becoming a titled martial god," Nushur said calmly. Lin Muyu frowned and flew up the mountain. She stood in front of Nushur and said, "Why can't you get over this hurdle in your heart? Why can't you turn back? I've gone too far. I can no longer turn back." Nushur's eyes were bright. "Do you still want to kill my people and force yourself to go deeper?" Lin Muyu said softly, "The Mahayana heavenly law has already started to rise. I can sense that there will be more and more Mahayana heavenly law gods appearing in the future. Since ancient times, evil has never prevailed over good. The demon world is destined to fail. Do you really not want to turn back? As long as you're willing, I'll protect your life." Nushur was startled. She looked at him deeply and said, "How are you going to protect me?" "I want you to cultivate by my side. I'll cleanse your evil aura and redeem your past mistakes. As long as you're by my side, no one will be able to harm you. I'll protect you even if I have to sacrifice my life." "Cultivate by your side?" Nushur could not help but laugh. "King Qin, stop joking. I'm a demon god. You're a Mahayana heavenly law martial god. Do you really want a demon god by your side? Why not?" Lin Muyu said proudly, "I'm the one who let down the demon spirit race. Our redemption is won. Only by keeping you by my side can I atone for my past mistakes. What if I don't agree?" Nushur asked with a smile. "Then I can only use force." Lin Muyu grabbed Nushur's hand. He did not use much force, but Nushur was unable to break free. Blood-colored lightning appeared around her. Her righteous aura caused Nushur's body to tremble. She suddenly burst into tears and hugged Lin Muyu tightly. Her body trembled as she cried, "I'm already impure. Is King Qin not afraid of being dirty by keeping me by your side? It's okay. I've seen many whores. Compared to them, you're not only not dirty, you're simply pure. At least you fell for revenge and not for other dirty things. This is my mistake. I'll redeem myself with you and forget about the past. If you feel that your body is tainted, I'll think of a way to change your body, as long as you're willing." I. Nushur cried bitterly. She was speechless. Lin Muyu held her hand and flew down from the mountain. Si Kongyao smiled from afar and said, "Congratulations, brother, you've hooked up with another girl, it's nothing." Lin Muyu hurriedly explained, "I'm just keeping Nushur by my side. It's me, the Qin Empire, who did her wrong." Qin Yin giggled, "I understand. You don't have to explain, idiot." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Then do you still want to march?" "Yes, continue." "Okay." After daybreak, the army marched out of the forest of no return. They set up camp on the flat ground outside the forest. After a short rest, they were ready to attack Huiyuan City. At the same time, Huiyuan City was filled with anxiety and unease. The news of Zhou Binlong, the commander of the earthly terminus army, leading an army of 350,000 men, suffering a crushing defeat in the frost-smoke wastelands, had already spread throughout the army. Everyone knew that Lin Muyu had become a titled martial god and was unstoppable. His army had already entered the Huiyuan province. In the depths of the mansion in Huiyuan City, Emperor Qinyu had become truly isolated. A group of generals were silent, and some even suggested surrendering. An old official with white hair said, "Your Majesty, Lin Muyu's 250,000 elite soldiers should have already crossed the forest of no return and will reach Huiyuan City in a few days. In the west, Feng Jixing's 500,000 soldiers are still there. They have a total of 750,000 soldiers, while we only have 200,000 soldiers. This war, it's impossible to win." Qinyu squinted his eyes and said, "Marquis Anil, what do you mean? Why don't you surrender? I heard that Qin Yin and Lin Muyu are both kind people. Even a traitor like Zhou Binlong was rewarded. If your Majesty surrenders, I'm sure you'll at least be given the title of Duke." "No." Wei Qiang suddenly raised his hand and said, "Qin Kingdom's General Su Jiantao is Lin Muyu's favorite general. Lin Muyu has already placed the blame for his death on Bugu Mountain on your Majesty. Now that Song Liangqing's head has been sent here, if Marquis Anil suggests surrendering, won't you be sending your Majesty to the guillotine?" "I have no such intentions. Your Majesty, please consider this clearly." Marquis Anil hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. "You may rise, old Marquis." Qinyu said lightly, "There's no need for further discussion. Write a letter to Yangshang immediately and tell him that I'm willing to surrender and request for Yangshang to send troops from the north to attack Lin Muyu's troops. This is the only way to protect the two kingdoms." "Yes." Chapter 12:10. On the 4th of July, a white messenger bird landed lightly in the Tianji Palace and immediately set off a wave. Yangshang did not step onto the path of diabolism. With a letter stuck in his hand, he looked at the officials in the court and said, "Lin Muyu's 250,000 troops have already taken over scorching cold city. Now that the vanguard has turned around, they have already arrived at the fire element province. They could deal a fatal blow to Qinyu at any time. Qinyu has sent a letter of credence, agreeing to become a vassal. What do you think?" The ministers were silent. After a long while, Sun Shi said, "Your Majesty, the momentum of Qin's state is overwhelming. If our kingdom of Shang does not send reinforcements to Qinyu, I'm afraid the next country to be destroyed will be us." "Who said that?" In the crowd, the leader of the generals, Wu Chang, said in a low voice, "Qinyu is a fickle villain. Even if we save his life, he will still bite us fiercely next time. Why should we save such a villain?" Sun Shi said, "Marshal is right. But times have changed. Our two countries must join forces. Otherwise, it will be impossible for us to win. The current Qin state is too strong." "Your Majesty." Wu Chang looked at Yangshang and said, "Do you really have the heart to send these brothers from the divine realm to Huiyuan City to die?" Yangshang took a deep breath and asked, "Marshal Wu Chang, what is your opinion?" Wu Chang frowned and paused for a while. Finally, he braced himself and said, "It is said that Lin Muyu has comprehended the power of Saint Martial of Mahayana Heavenly Way. It can fully stimulate the potential of a cultivator. Under the power of Lin Muyu's Saint Martial, those people from the 64 domains have regained their divine power. There are tens of thousands of people in the 64 domains under Lin Muyu's command. Once he uses the power of Saint Martial, how can we resist? In my opinion, why don't? Marshal, please speak." "Yes." Wu Shang cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, please immediately send an army to East Com province and block the escape route of the Heaven's End Corps to the north. Then, write a letter to Qin Yin. Say that the Shang nation is willing to surrender, but I hope that your Majesty can be rewarded with a city so that our celestial race soldiers can rest, cultivate, and gain insight into the Mahayana Heavenly Tao." Then Wu Chang said sincerely, "Your Majesty, we are gods and should not participate in the war of the human world. Why do we have to get involved in this muddy water?" At this time, Dora, who was standing beside Yangshang, said with a ruthless expression, "Wu Chang, are you going to betray the country? We still have hundreds of thousands of troops, why should we wag our tails and beg for mercy to that bitch Xin? Wu Chang immediately said sternly, shut up you whore. If it wasn't for you inciting His Majesty, how could we have ended up in this situation? Don't you see, the Xin you speak of is none other than the graceful goddess of Mahayana Heavenly Way. She is in charge of the new order of Mahayana Heavenly Way. And you? Who do you think you are? Do you still want to rely on your peach blossom spring that is riddled with holes to trap our army in a desperate situation? Yangshang frowned deeply, but he couldn't say a word. He didn't want to wag his tail and beg for mercy, but Wu Chang was right. Victory and defeat were already decided. There was no way for them to contend with Lin Muyu's Qin Empire. However, what made Yangshang truly despair was that Wu Chang had already become timid under Lin Muyu's holy martial power. A superior demon god had already surrendered before the battle even started. The final capital and trump card of the kingdom of Shang no longer existed. Forget it, Yangshang stood up and said, we are originally people of the realm of gods. We shouldn't be stirring up trouble in this mortal world. Just do as Marshal Wu Chang said, write a letter of surrender to Lin Muyu. Don't reinforce Qin Yu's troops. Yes. Everyone was overjoyed. Only Dora looked unhappy. Originally, her biggest goal in throwing herself into Yangshang's arms was revenge on Qin Yin. But only now did she realize how wrong she was. Yangshang was simply a useless villain. He had neither ambition nor courage. Once he lost his power, he would become a coward. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The sound of drums shook the heavens in the Huiyuan province. The 250,000 troops led by Lin Muyu had already set up camp 30 li away from Huiyuan city. Inside the city, Qin Yu's troops were on guard. Qin Yu was more ambitious than Yangshang. He planned to stake everything on this one throw. He didn't decide to surrender. After all, he didn't have a path of retreat, but Yangshang did. In the evening, there was still no movement in the distance. Qin Yu stood on top of the city gate tower, looking at the distant forest, and said, why hasn't Lin Muyu attacked the city yet? Their army is tired. They should be resting and reorganizing, right? Wei Qiang cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, it's windy outside. Shall we go back? Yes. Just as Qin Yu turned around and was about to leave, the soldiers on the tower suddenly shouted, The enemy is attacking. The enemy is attacking. Hurry up and sound the alarm. The sharp sound of gongs rang out and quickly spread throughout the city. The beacon on the city gate tower also lit up. Sure enough, a large group of people flew over from the distant sky. They were all immortal state experts who could fly, holding the purple Yinhua imperial flag of the Qin Empire. At the forefront of the group was Lin Muyu, who held the Saint Martial power in her left hand and the Shenyuan sword in her right. They're here, they're finally here. Qin Yu took a few steps back and said, all heavy cannons, firearms, and crossbows, aim at the sky and prepare to defend against the enemy. Yes. Wei Qiang quickly pulled out his sword and shouted, Brothers, prepare to face the enemy. The sound of cannons continued, and the cannonballs turned into sparks and bombarded in front of Lin Muyu. However, they could not hurt a single member of the Dragon League. Almost all the cannonballs hit a huge shield condensed by a blood-red thunderbolt. It was a protective wall that Lin Muyu had condensed, and it was enough to withstand a round of fierce attacks from the enemy. He stood majestically in the air and looked indifferently at Qin Yu and the others. Suddenly, he raised his left hand, and the skies suddenly darkened, and countless stars fell. Bang, 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 the city wall was pierced, and the earth trembled and cracked. The city wall that was hundreds of meters tall was almost destroyed in an instant. Nearly half of the tower where Qin Yu was also collapsed. The guards in the city were in a mess. They rushed out through the gate, but they could not find the enemy. All the enemies were in the air, and they were not within the attack range of the cavalry. Lin Muyu withdrew his hand and said indifferently, Qin Yu, are you still not going to stop? Do you want your Heaven's End Corps to be completely annihilated? Wei Qiang raised his sword and roared, "Lin Muyu, you bastard! If you have the guts, fight us to the death. Why do you have to act so condescending?" Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes and said, "Wei Chou, kill him." "Yes, Marshal." The bowstring twanged, and a ray of light pierced through Wei Qiang's heart. With a bang, the sun-shooting arrow pierced through Wei Qiang's body and penetrated the stone floor of the tower with great force. Wei Qiang stood there in shock, the long sword in his hand still trembling, and his face pale as he knelt on the ground. His life force was rapidly draining away. "Marshal Wei." Qin Yu felt a pain in his heart. Lin Muyu carried the Xianyuan sword and slowly landed on the tower. He looked straight at Qin Yu and suddenly shouted, "Surrender, you have no way out. As for the rest of you, why aren't you kneeling?" Under his rebuke, the group of captaincy of the Heavens End Corps knelt one after another. Although it was said that men should kneel, there was a saying that it was better to live than to die well. "Ha ha ha ha," Qin Yu laughed, and his laughter was incomparably melancholic. "I didn't expect that I, Qin Yu, would be defeated so thoroughly. I didn't expect that my celestial empire would be destroyed in such a way." Lin Muyu also laughed. "A year ago, when Yang Shang took over Qinji City, your country was already destroyed. Now, it is only struggling at death's door." Qin Yu said, "How do you plan to deal with me?" "You know it very well." Lin Muyu raised his hand. "All surrendered generals, listen up. Immediately leave the city and surrender. Put down your weapons and accept the incorporation of the Qin army. We will not kill any captives. Thank you, Your Highness, for your grace." Everyone knelt again. By evening, the 200,000 soldiers of the Heavens End Corps in Huiyuan City had all surrendered and entered the prisoner camp. Wei Chou led 100,000 elites of the Longdan army camp into Huiyuan City, and Qin Yu also took off his dragon robe. At this point, the Celestial Empire was officially destroyed. At night, in the palace hall of Huiyuan City, the surrender and conferring ceremony were carried out at the same time. All the surrendered generals were promoted by one rank. Deputy commander was promoted to commander, and captaincy was promoted to deputy commander. All of them were nominal positions. Although they were given salaries, their military power had been deprived, and the command of all the troops was under the control of Wei Chou. This surrendered Heavens End Corps was replaced with the officers and soldiers of the Qin Empire, starting from the centurion. The whole army was divided into 4 corps to guard different areas, in case of any accidents. After all the generals were rewarded, they retreated one after another. Only Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and the Emperor of the Celestial Empire, Qin Yu, were left in the hall. At this time, Qin Yu's hair was disheveled, and his dragon robe and armor were stripped off. He stood there with a pale face, looking straight at Lin Muyu, and said, "The Heavens End Corps has been replaced by you, and the military power of all the old generals of the Celestial Empire has been taken away by you. What's the next step? Is it the turn to deal with me, the Emperor? What are you going to do? Give me the title of Marquis Annal and let me live the rest of my life in a small town on the border? No, you don't have the right to live the rest of your life there." Lin Muyu placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, his eyes burning. "From the moment Su Jiantao died in battle, you lost the possibility of a good death. I once swore to Su Jiantao's spirit in heaven that I would not let you live. You..." Qin Yu gritted his teeth and said, "Just because I plotted to kill Su Jiantao? No, it's not just that." Lin Muyu looked around at the people in the hall and said, "Qin Yu, you are a smart man, all of us are smart men. Your Qin family has ruled the Celestial Empire for so long, and has long been deeply rooted. The 14 provinces of the Celestial Empire are so vast, if you don't die, there will always be people who will rebel in your name, and come to suppress me. You are also one of the reasons why you must die. Then, what about my descendants? Can you spare their lives?" "No." Lin Muyu said softly, "You must wipe out the entire clan, and not a single member of the Qin family can dream of surviving. You executioner." Qin Yu looked at her hatefully. Lin Muyu smiled. Yes, I am an executioner, but the people of the future will praise me for my merits, and you? You are just a scheming ruler of a subjugated kingdom. This sentence was enough to make Qin Yu collapse, and his entire body trembled. Lin Muyu, why are you doing this? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, if I lose, how will you treat me? Could it be that you will spare my life? I won't. That's right, the winner takes all, and it has always been like this. In the hearts of you and your subordinates, I am a bad person, a very bad person, but so what? I have not let down the common people, and I have not let down the people of the world. Qin Yu, what do you think history is like? Qin Yu said blankly, history is compiled by the people of the future, who can see the true appearance of history. Yes, you are right. History is like a whore, and it is rotated by the bad people of every era. Lin Muyu slowly unsheathed her sword, and with a clang, she handed it to Qin Yu and said, use my sword to send you on your last journey. I hope you have a good journey, and don't ever be reborn into an imperial family in your next life. Qin Yu smiled bitterly and blankly, what about you? After unifying the three countries, I will retreat in the face of the crisis, and leave the torrent of power. You are indeed much more brilliant than me. It's not brilliant, it's just that you haven't gotten over it. Then goodbye, Lin Muyu. May we be friends in our next lives, not enemies. Lin Muyu nodded and turned around, unable to bear to see the state of Qin Yu's death. A spray of blood flew, and Qin Yu fell to the ground. An emperor of a generation had fallen just like that. Chapter 12:11. On the 12th of July, the kingdom of Shang sent Yang Shang's personal letter of surrender. On the 18th of July, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing joined forces in Tianji province. A total of 600,000 elite soldiers were stationed in the southern plains of Tianji city. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the rest accompanied Empress Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi into Tianji city to accept Yang Shang's surrender. Tianji city was bustling as usual, which made people sigh with emotion. Fortunately, this city had avoided many wars and maintained the existence of the civilization of the Tianji Empire. In Tianji Palace, Yang Shang led the officials to kneel to welcome them. Yang Shang knelt on the ground, holding the imperial seal and the marshal's tiger tally in his hands. He looked straight at Lin Muyu. He looked at this young general whom he once looked down on. But now, Lin Muyu was way above him. Get up, Emperor Shang, Qin Yin said. Yang Shang stood up gratefully, thank you for your grace, your highness. Lin Muyu took the imperial seal from Yang Shang's hands and handed it to Wei Chou, Emperor Shang, follow us into the palace. Her highness is going to announce all the decisions regarding Tianji city. Yes. Yang Shang was a little perturbed. He walked into the palace side by side with Lin Muyu. The imperial guards quickly replaced the original guards. Situsun quickly replaced the original city defense. Outside the city, the army of the kingdom of Shang had already put down their weapons and accepted the incorporation of the Qin army. The general situation had been decided. Everyone was relieved. From 31 years to 44 years, it had been 13 years. Now, it was finally over. Qin Yin walked along the steps to the front of the throne and said softly, Shao Shi, announce the edict. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi held on to the edict and walked in front of Qin Yin. She opened the edict and read, first, Yang Shang's authority over all military and political affairs shall be revoked. Yang Shang can only bring the original Northern Heaven Realm Celestial Race Army and leave. Second, Silver Wolf City in the north shall be bestowed to Yang Shang. Yang Shang and the Northern Heaven Realm Celestial Race Army shall be ordered to cultivate in Silver Wolf City. They are not allowed to leave, and they are not allowed to step into the Qin Empire's territory again. Third, the kingdom of Shang shall hand over all the demon gods and banish them immediately. Fourth, hand over duo law. Yang Shang broke out in a cold sweat when he heard that. Your Highness wants to banish the demonic gods? Yes. Qin Yin said, good and evil cannot coexist. Wu Chang, Sima Jin, and Lin of the North must immediately ascend and leave the mortal realm. Otherwise, we will kill them immediately. After entering the heaven realm, I hope that the three of you will behave yourselves and not be seen by us. Otherwise, we will not be polite either. I hope that you will not commit any evil deeds and return to seclusion." Wu Chang frowned. "Yes, Your Highness." Even though Sima Jin and Lin of the North revealed looks of indignation, they had no choice. With their cultivation, any one of Lin, Qin, or Tang could easily kill them. Even if Wu Chang, a higher god, was added, the result would still be the same. Very quickly, the three demon gods ascended and left the mortal realm in front of everyone. However, it was unknown whether they were going to the demon realm or the heaven realm. Yang Shang took his leave and left Tianji City with over 10,000 northern divine realms crippled gods. As for Silver Wolf City, it was a small desolate city in the north. Its population was sparse and it put an end to the possibility of Yang Shang making a comeback. Furthermore, there were 3 righteous gods overseeing Tianji City now, so it was unlikely that Yang Shang would have the guts to do so. Duo La was handed over by Yang Shang, and 2 hours later, she was executed by Wei Chou and Ho Gong. She had committed too many crimes, and too many people had died at her hands. Luo Xian, Yao Yuan, and the others could only be blamed on her. At night, the army outside the city was in formation while the city was in complete silence. Lin Muyu held a family banquet in the imperial palace. A large table was filled with more than 20 people. They were all very close friends or subordinates of the Longdan army camp. Delicious food, mellow wine, and jade cups. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. "Come, let's toast for the Empire," Qin Yin said with a smile. Everyone stood up together. "Long live Your Highness." After drinking the first cup, Lin Muyu said, "Let's eat first. I will announce the next decision when we are full." Everyone knew that when Lin Muyu informed everyone, she said that this was a family banquet. Those sitting here were all her people and also represented the highest power group of the Qin Empire. Very soon, after a round of eating, Lin Muyu cleared her throat and said, "The north, south, east, and west heaven realms are in a mess. The demon realm has invaded. The god realm needs the power of our righteous gods, so Shao Yin, Shao Shi, and I may have to ascend to the heaven realm in advance. As for the people who stay behind, I have thought for a long time, but I still can't think of the most suitable way." Wei Chou was stunned. "Your Highness, let me finish first." Lin Muyu didn't use her divine power to suppress the alcohol, but let the drunkenness numb her. Her face was slightly red, and she said with a smile, "I know that it's not easy for you to fight with me. Today, it's already a success. Shao Yin is not a fatuous ruler and will not order the execution of meritorious ministers. But, next, the royal power will be handed over to the Congress. Although the Congress advocates to rule the country according to the Constitution, after all, it's people who are in charge of the Congress, and people are selfish. You are all good brothers who have followed me for many years. I don't want anyone to be involved in this whirlpool and end up with a bad ending. So, I must arrange everything before I leave." Feng Jixing said, If you have anything to say, just say it. We are all family." "Okay." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Shao Yin, Shao Shi, and I will be waiting for you in the divine realm. We will wait for you to comprehend the Tao and ascend, and then we will slay the demons and devils in the divine realm. But before that, you all have a few choices. One is to find a place to live in seclusion, a place where no one can find you. This way, even if the future ruler wants to hunt you down, they won't be able to find you. The second is to continue to stay in the center of power. The empire is unified, and there may not be too many wars in the future. But silent wars are crueler, and the Congress will be the battlefield in the future. If anyone wants to continue to stay as an official and enjoy glory and splendor, I will arrange for them to enter the Congress. As long as they are careful, at least they won't be assassinated." After saying that, Lin Muyu coughed and said, "The Congress needs someone to preside over the overall situation. I don't feel at ease with others. If any of you are willing, Shao Yin and I will support you with all our might." Feng Jixing smiled and shook his head. I can't stand the days of mutual deceit. It's better not to make me suffer. How about this, you? As the Vice Marshal of the Empire, I'm sure that no one will dare to harm me for the time being. I will bring Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and Lin Sun to stay in Tianji City and preside over the celestial pole continent. At the same time, I will also quell those wars that haven't been quelled yet. Okay. Lin Muyu smiled and said, Xiao Yin, what do you think? Qin Yin smiled and said, sure. I will issue an imperial edict to the Congress to maintain Feng Jixing's position as Vice Marshal. He will be in charge of the military affairs of the 21 provinces of the celestial pole continent. Within 10 years, no one is allowed to question his position, not even the Congress. 10 years is enough for General Feng to comprehend the Mahayana Heavenly Tao. 3 years is enough, okay? You're really looking down on me. Lin Muyu laughed and continued, then. Brothers of the Longdan Army Camp, what do you plan to do? Continue to stay in the Longdan Army Camp, or? Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, I'll listen to your arrangements. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, Wei Chou, you're upright and brave. I'm afraid you're not very suitable to work in the Congress. You'll be easily framed by others. How about this? Xiao Yin will issue an imperial edict to you, ordering you to lead the Longdan Army Camp and continue to guard the imperial capital, Lanyan City. The establishment of the Longdan Army Camp will remain unchanged, and the National Treasury must supply it every year. General Sun, General Shui, and Feng Shi will also remain in the Longdan Army Camp and help me look after Lanyan City. With you guys around, at least no one will dare to cause trouble. Yes, my lady. The few of them nodded in unison. Lin Muyu's gaze fell on Tang Zhen and his wife. Tang Zhen smiled and said, Marshal, I'm old. I don't want to get involved in any fights. It's better to let me go back to the demon-subduing pass to guard, so that Ling Hu and I can also spend the rest of our lives together. Lin Muyu was quite moved and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I don't have a way to prolong my life, and I don't have the art of immortality. Tang Zhen smiled and said, mortals have their own blessings, why force it? Marshal, you're already good enough to us. Lin Muyu's gaze fell on Qianfeng and said, Marshal Qianfeng, what about you? Qianfeng touched his nose and said, the mutual deception of humans is really disgusting. I'd better go back to the Tongtian Gorge and the 8 wastelands. Rest assured, Lin General, Qianfeng, swear that I will never rebel, and there will never be a case of my clan rebelling. Lin Muyu looked at Si Kongyao and Lu Bai and asked, what about the two of you? Brother. Si Kongyao pursed her lips and said, I want to stay in Tianji City and rebuild the Tianji sect. I'll leave the Bai Zhe mercenaries to Lu Bai and let him guard the celestial pole continent with General Feng. With the Bai Zhe mercenaries at his disposal, General Feng will be more relaxed. Feng Jixing clapped his hands and smiled. Welcome, welcome. With big sister Si Kongyao guarding Tianji City, I can really rest assured. Lin Muyu looked at Chu Yao again and said, Big sister Chu Yao, I want to keep you by my side, but I'm afraid you can't withstand the impact of the sand of time, so there's no other way, you can only rely on yourself to comprehend the Mahayana heavenly way. I know. I'll leave all the Dragon League members behind and let them stay in Lanyan City to protect you and the spiritual medicine department. Chu Yao couldn't help but burst into laughter. You're going to let 50 to 60,000 godly state experts protect me just to protect my sister? I can't rest assured if there are fewer people. They will all listen to your orders. All right, I'll help you look after them first. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and looked at everyone again. Is there really no one who wants to stay and join the Congress? In the future, the Congress will be the center of power, and I really can't rest assured letting those treacherous villains who claim to be scholars control the entire Congress. Once the villains are in power, they will become petty and arrogant, and maybe their claws and teeth will reach out to all of you. Everyone looked at each other, and finally, Feng Jixing said, how about this, I'll make the names, Qin Yan, Qin Yong, and Beili Tsang will stay and be the deacons of the Congress, Guanxing and Marshal Xiang you can also join the Congress, what do the four of you think? Qin Yan, Qin Yong, and Bailey Tsang nodded. Understood. Xiang Yu hesitated for a moment and said, all right. Guanxing was Feng Jixing's subordinate, so he naturally wouldn't disobey orders. Just like that, the final structure of Shattered Cauldron Realm and Celestial Pole Continent was slowly formed. Chapter 12:12. At night, the bright moon hung high in the sky. A group of people were led by the Imperial Guards to visit the Imperial Garden of Qinji Empire. The palace that Bai Mingyuan had managed for many years had now become Prince Exayan Feng Jixing's temporary imperial residence, and he himself had become a prisoner. Thinking of this made one sigh. The lotus leaves in the lotus pond had yet to grow, but the temperature of the lake had risen a lot. Lin Muyu leaned against the railing, looking at the sparkling water surface in a daze. She felt an indescribable reluctance to leave. She did not know how long it would be before she returned to Shattered Cauldron Realm. Even if she did return, she probably would not stay for long. Brother, have you really decided to leave tomorrow morning? Si Kongyao asked. Lin Muyu nodded. You're leaving in such a hurry. Si Kongyao was clearly a little reluctant. After spending so much time together, Si Kongyao had already treated Lin Muyu as her only relative in this world. Lin Muyu naturally knew Si Kongyao's thoughts. She smiled and said, Yao, you don't have to think so much. Stay in the mortal realm and cultivate well. You'll naturally see through the Mahayana heavenly path. Moreover, it's not that I won't return. If something happens to the mortal realm, I'll hear your prayers to the heavens and call my name. Really? The Mahayana heavenly path is much more profound and vast than you imagine. That's good. Si Kongyao's worries turned to joy. Feng Jixing said, the demon realm probably won't give up on their invasion of Shattered Cauldron Realm. If the demon realm's army comes again, we won't be able to hold them off. You'll have to return. Don't worry. The demon realm only sent their army here because there are demonic gods and orthodox gods here. Once the three of us leave, this will be an ordinary mortal realm. The demon realm won't be able to send their army here again. Moreover, the three of us are going to the divine realm to fight against the demon realm. Once the demon realm's attention shifts to us, Shattered Cauldron Realm will be safe. Then, you guys have to be more careful. Feng Jixing patted his shoulder and said, it sounds like a righteous god like you is much more dangerous than a mortal like me. Don't worry, big brother Feng, you have to be careful in the mortal realm. Lin Muyu wanted to say something but hesitated. She said, the Senate, led by Guo Huili, has already started to take root. Now that you are in a high position, once Xiao Yin and I leave the Shattered Cauldron Realm, I'm afraid that the Senate will start to take back their power. You have so many troops under your control, the Senate might, I'm fine. Feng Jixing smiled faintly. I won't be tortured to death so easily. If the people from the Congress really want to make a move against me, they'll have to think twice. Besides, I have you, martial god Lin Muyu, as my backer. Who would dare to not give me some face unless they want to die? So, you have to stay alive. Only by staying alive can you protect all of us. Don't worry, I'm very strong now, ha ha ha, brat. You really don't know how to write the word, humble. Everyone bid farewell to Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Lin Muyu. The next morning, they were going to ascend to the divine realm. Suyu was naturally very reluctant to part with Qin Yin. After all, Suyu was gradually getting old. She did not know when Qin Yin would return, and Suyu also did not know if she could wait until her return. She sighed and actually cried. The distance between mortals and gods was actually so far that it was impossible to cross. The next morning, Lin Muyu and the other two did not disturb anyone. They ascended together and headed to the eastern divine realm. As for Nu Shi, she temporarily stayed in the mortal realm. After all, she was a demon god. Once she entered the heaven realm, she might be chased by Xiao and the other righteous gods. Lin Muyu instructed Nu Shi to ascend half a month later. She would go to the heaven realm to greet them first. At the same time, the the Hall of Great Accomplishment in the Eastern Divine Realm was in chaos. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor had not returned yet. The task of leading everyone to resist Mara's attack had completely fallen on Xiao. The pitiful impartial goddess had been fighting continuously for 5 days and 5 nights. Her divine power was almost exhausted. Her sharp sword was stained with blood. She had already lost count of how many Mara she had killed. However, the mountain of Mara's corpses in front of the Hall of Great Accomplishment was enough to explain everything. This time, Mara's army was at least more than 100,000. Mara had been attacking the Hall of Great Accomplishment for nearly half a month. Use crossbows. Sun Feng held his sword and shouted, "Don't come into direct contact with Mara. Their poisonous stingers are very sharp." Qin Ping slashed out with her sword, but the dozens of Mara in front of her were completely unafraid of this level of attack. They only retreated a few steps before they immediately surrounded and attacked again like a tidal wave. Just as Mara's army was surging forward, their bodies suddenly flew up uncontrollably. They roared in anger, then their bodies exploded one after another. It was Xiao. As the impartial goddess, her ability was balance. She was able to control the Xian energy of all things. "Madam Xiao, we can't hold them off much longer." Qing Ping frowned. "By tomorrow at the latest, the Demon Emperor must return. Otherwise, the Eastern Heaven Realm will be completely annihilated. How many people do we have left?" Xiao was a little tired. There are still more than 3,000 people guarding the Hall of Great Accomplishment. However, their numbers are decreasing. Mara's attacks are also becoming more and more fierce. I can see that the foot of the spiritual mountain is also densely packed with Mara's army. They still have at least 500,000 Mara waiting for orders. They will attack us relentlessly. Xiao's beautiful face was full of worry. The Northern Heaven Realm is also being besieged. The Demon Emperor won't be able to return for a while. Could it be that the heavens want our God realm to die? But at this moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded from the depths of Xiao's heart. "Sister Xiao, we are here. We will be here in an incense stick's time." It was martial god Lin Muyu. Xiao immediately smiled. "Brat, you are finally here. If you don't come now, I'm afraid you won't have to come anymore." Sun Feng and Qing Ping were surprised. "Xiao, what are you talking about?" Xiao smiled sweetly. "Our martial god is back. He brought the 2 righteous gods, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi." "Really?" Sun Feng was ecstatic. "Ha ha ha ha, that's great. Once that brat Yu comes back, our Hall of Great Accomplishment won't be destroyed." "Great, great," Xiao nodded happily, her voice reverberating in the sky above the Hall of Great Accomplishment. "Warriors of the Eastern Heaven Realm, cheer up. Martial god Lin Muyu, graceful goddess Qin Yin, love goddess Tang Xiaoxi are coming soon." Everyone was wild with joy. After an incense stick's time, the sky rumbled with thunder. Shwa shwa shwa, 3 golden rays of light fell on the steps of the Hall of Great Accomplishment. It was Lin Muyu and the others who had just ascended to the god realm. After rushing over without stopping, Lin Muyu directly raised her arm and used the power of the Holy Martial. With a loud shout, a storm of blood-colored lightning condensed and swept the surroundings. Strands of lightning power quickly spread out and seeped into everyone's body, greatly stimulating their potential. For a moment, the battle power of these crippled gods soared. The feeling of their bodies recovering made them ecstatic. Is this the power of the Holy Martial? Even impartial goddess Xiao was amazed. Her power had also increased by at least 30% due to Lin Muyu's power of the Holy Martial. Sun Feng, Qing Ping, and the others were like withered trees that had come back to life. Divine power was madly produced from their bodies and their faces were filled with surprise. This power of the Holy Martial. Sun Feng said, "Is it actually this powerful?" "Yes, the power of the Holy Martial can stimulate a person's potential. You are all gods, so your potential is even stronger. Prepare for battle." Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xian Yuan sword. Everyone's fighting spirit instantly rose. Sun Feng was even more delighted. Among the few righteous gods, Demon Emperor's ability is unyielding bones. His bones are as hard as steel, and he doesn't fear any kind of attack. Xiao Fairy's ability is balance. Although they are all very powerful, they paled in comparison to you. Your power of the Holy Martial is simply born for fighting. Xiao giggled. Yu's title is Martial God. He was originally a supreme god who specialized in fighting. Saying that, Xiao smiled at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, hello, long time no see. Hello, big sis Xiao, let's catch up after we fight. Yes. Xiao looked around. Almost all of the Eastern Heaven Realm's depraved gods were surrounded by faint blood-red lightning. That was the power of the Holy Martial, so she asked, "You, how many people can your power of the Holy Martial, and how long can it last?" Lin Muyu answered, "I don't know the specifics, but at least 10,000 people can enjoy this power. As for the duration, as long as I don't slack off, everyone can continue to fight with the power of the Holy Martial." Good boy, Demon Emperor was right, you are the most important person in the 6 realms. Big sis Xiao, why are you saying so much? Let's fight. Alright, let's fight. Lin Muyu stepped on the stone steps and left. The Xianyuan sword shone brightly, and dozens of sword chi exploded in the group of Mara. For a moment, there were broken limbs everywhere. Lin Muyu's strength could be considered to have reached the peak. Even the 99 heavenly abode Great Perfection Divine Emperor was not as strong as he was now. After all, his original strength was close to the Great Perfection Divine Emperor. Adding the power of the Holy Martial, he was probably 30 to 50% stronger than the 2 blazing angels back then. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi attacked from both sides. The 2 beautiful justice gods held divine weapons in their hands. One fire, the other light, the 2 types of laws intertwined, killing Mara. Under the encouragement of the 3 justice gods, the people guarding the Hall of Great Accomplishment also attacked. Now that their strength was almost above Mara's, there was nothing to be afraid of. Jia. The densely packed Mara rushed over. They had already found out that the real culprit was Lin Muyu. And Lin Muyu also rushed over. Now that she saw the densely packed Mara, what she felt was not fear, but the joy of a peak-level expert meeting a level 1 newbie. She raised her arm and spread her fingers. Instantly, the reincarnation power exploded. The sky suddenly exploded, and hundreds of Mara disappeared in an instant. Everyone was stunned, even Mara's group was stunned. Damn bastard. In the group of Mara, a demon general riding a demon tiger rushed over with a spear. His face was full of malevolence. The spear spun rapidly, and with a bone-piercing chill, attacked Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. She could not lose in terms of momentum, otherwise, the attack of Mara's army would be even more annoying. Buzz! The Xianyuan sword slashed out wildly, directly smashing the opponent's spear and beheading him from the demon tiger. A dignified demon general could not even withstand 1 round from Lin Muyu. Roar! After its master died, the demon tiger still rushed over. However, Lin Muyu suddenly lifted her body, and with the power of the holy martial arts, she kicked the demon tiger. In an instant, the demon tiger's body fell into the poisonous Mara like a meteor, killing countless people and even smashing through a spirit mountain. One could imagine the strength of Lin Muyu's kick. Chapter 12-13. In Lin Fan's mind, the Supreme Godhead had fully awakened. It glowed and provided endless divine energy for Lin Muyu. The heavenly Tao of Mahayana surrounded her and turned into blood-red lightning that turned into the overbearing power of the Saint Martial energy. Almost no one could compete with Lin Muyu at this moment. The power of the Saint Martial energy was a power that was born for battle. It could greatly stimulate the potential of others and enhance one's own strength. Lin Muyu's original strength was almost sealed, but the power of the Saint Martial energy still increased her strength by 50%. One could only imagine the level of this power. It was way above the demons. Among the 4 principal gods guarding the Hall of Great Accomplishment, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xiao might be strong, but they couldn't maintain a constant state of battle. After fighting for 6 hours, they had to rest for a while. Otherwise, their divine energy wouldn't be able to continue. On the other hand, Lin Muyu could fight without rest. The effect of the Supreme Godhead was still very strong. In this way, the killing went on for nearly a day and a night. The sky was dark and the earth was dark. No one knew how many people had been killed. Anyway, the Devil Luo army on the dozens of holy mountains around the Hall of Deshang had retreated. If they hadn't retreated, they would have been killed. The air was filled with the stench of the blood of the demons. It was no exaggeration. The square in front of the Hall of Great Accomplishment was filled with 3 meters of Mara's corpses. If they weren't cleaned up, the doors of the Hall of Great Accomplishment wouldn't even open. Swoosh! A golden light landed in the middle of the hall. Lin Muyu finally stopped the killing with her blood-stained sword. She heaved a sigh of relief and said, "So tiring." Xiao giggled, Have you counted how many Mara you have killed?" "No, I can't, at least 10,000. Tang Xiaoxi said. Qin Yin chuckled, "Sister Xiao, order us to clean up the Hall of Great Accomplishment. There are too many corpses of Mara. We can't live among them." "Yes, Sun Feng, clean up the corpses." "Yes." Sun Feng happily left. The method of cleaning up the corpses was very simple. Because this spirit mountain was floating in the immortal realm, all he had to do was push the corpses to the edge of the spirit mountain. After Sun Feng gave the order, pengs flew over from the spirit mountain in the distance. On the backs of the pengs sat the practitioners of the Eastern Heaven Realm. Although the Eastern Heaven Realm had suffered greatly in the previous battle, they still retained the strength of tens of thousands of people. Before long, the area in front of the Hall of Great Accomplishment was cleared. Xiao invited Lin Muyu and the others to enter the Hall of Great Accomplishment. Wisps of green smoke rose from the incense burner in the hall, dispelling the stench of Mara's corpse. After everyone sat down, the maidservants served tea and fruit cores. Xiao said, "Eat something. The Hall of Great Accomplishment is now isolated from the world. We don't have anything delicious to serve you." "This is all we have," Tang Xiaoxi said. "That's right. You've been trapped in the God realm for so long. Big Sister Xiao, how are you going to live? We can only rely on those birds that originally live in the sky." "Are you talking about those pengs?" "Yes. We've only started to domesticate these pengs recently. There aren't many of them, but they can at least maintain everyone's livelihood." As she said that, Xiao frowned. She couldn't help but say with some worry, Actually, I haven't said this. Although you killed many Mara today, your edge is too bright. The God-destroying tower of the demon realm will probably find you soon. The power of the God-destroying tower is boundless. Even if you're a first-tier god, you might not be able to escape death. I've seen the power of the God-destroying tower. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, "I purposely didn't hide my strength because I felt that I might be able to withstand the power of the God-destroying tower and not die. If I don't stand up, the next target of the God-destroying tower might be one of you 3. I don't want anything to happen to any of you." Xiao was slightly moved. "All right, It's been hard on you. What's the next plan, Sister Xiao?" "No, everyone is working hard to cultivate and seek the truth of the Mahayana Heavenly Tao, but we can't rush it. Fortunately, you're here. As long as you're in the Eastern Heaven Realm, with your holy martial power, we'll be able to fight against the demon realm. No matter how many of them come, Mara doesn't have to be afraid. So, you must not leave the Hall of Great Accomplishment." "Yes, I know." At this time, Qin Yin moved her red lips and asked carefully, "Sister Xiao, do you know the whereabouts of Sister Haiyan?" "I know a little. She has already established the power of the Divine Realm on the old site of the Western Divine Realm. She also used the Light Origin Stone to create some powerful old gods to revive the angels who had lost their power. Now, there seem to be 7 or 8 angels." As she said that, Xiao couldn't help but say worriedly, "It's just that their power is probably not enough to fight against the demon realm." I heard that the demon realm has sent out tens of millions of troops this time. Mara can't kill them all. How can a mere 7 or 8 angels resist? Ah. Qin Yin opened her mouth wide, but then lowered her head. Xiao smiled and said softly, Xiao Yin, I know that you and Shi Yan are like sisters. You definitely want to help her. It doesn't matter. If you go now, I won't blame you. Now that the 4 great divine realms are fighting against the demon realm together, there is no longer any distinction between you and me. It's the same no matter who you help. However, Lin Muyu frowned and said, No, Xiao Yin, you should stay in the Eastern Heaven realm for the time being. I will also be worried if you are not by my side. When the crisis in the Eastern Heaven realm is over, I will go with you to the Western Divine realm. But, Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, Sai, follow your own wishes. If you really want to go, Xiao Shi will go with you. Okay, I will set off in 3 days for the Western Divine realm. Yes, you must be careful. I know. 3 days of peace passed in the blink of an eye. The demon realm did not launch another attack, but it was obvious that they were plotting something more vicious. In the demon realm where the airflow was chaotic and the waves were endless, the Fekta temple stood majestically in the darkness. On the main floor of the temple, Xiao held the god-destroying pagoda in his hand and looked fiercely at Lin Muyu who was cultivating in the Hall of Great Accomplishment. He laughed sinisterly and said, Lin Muyu, you martial god are even more arrogant than the mad god. Today, I will let you have a taste of the god-destroying pagoda. Buzz buzz buzz. The earth trembled and the power of the entire demon realm rapidly surged towards the god-destroying pagoda. The pagoda in Ziyan's hand also began to change. Layers of power began to stack up, demonic flames rose in all directions, and the rumbling sound of thunder continuously exploded in the sky. A group of Mara knelt in the surroundings in awe, and no one dared to take off anymore. The demon realm was closer to the divine realm, so the power of the god-destroying pagoda this time was also stronger. Moreover, the strong light had already condensed into a beam of blood-red light, directly penetrating the plane and accurately blasting in the direction of Lin Muyu. At this moment, Lin Muyu had already felt the power of the god-destroying pagoda descend. He flew out of the Hall of Great Accomplishment and floated up and down, flying towards a few spirit mountains in the distance. He could not lead the god-destroying pagoda to the Hall of Great Accomplishment. Thunder rumbled in the sky as a fiery red light fell from the sky like a meteorite, chasing after Lin Muyu's traces. Ah! Xiao woke up from his dream and flew to the window. Looking at the figure rising and falling in the distance, he could not help but clench his fists and murmur, You must stay here. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi also walked to the side of the bed and looked at the thunder in the distance. They were so worried that they could not say a word. As for Sun Feng, Qing Ping, and the other experts of the divine realm, they were also shocked awake. Everyone looked at the scene in the distance from the Hall of Great Accomplishment. Would the power of the god-destroying pagoda from the demon realm be able to kill a Mahayana martial god? Swoosh! Lin Muyu suddenly stopped in mid-air and stepped on the plane barrier. She raised both her hands gently and instantly, streaks of blood-red sacred martial power surged and formed a tower-like shield. This was the power of the combination of the sacred martial power and the invisible elephant art. It was also because of this increasing defensive power that Lin Muyu dared to face the god-destroying pagoda head-on. Boom! The fiery red light beam of the god-destroying pagoda directly hit Lin Muyu's sacred martial power. In an instant, the light beam soared into the sky and the entire Eastern Heaven realm was almost illuminated. Waves of air continuously blew in the air. Lin Muyu's attack had blocked the refraction of the entire demon realm's power. It was not as simple as 1.5 stars. Bang, 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 the sacred martial power quickly collapsed. Even the powerful martial god could not block the power of the god-destroying pagoda. Lin Muyu's blood was boiling. The power of the god-destroying pagoda this time was obviously many times stronger than the time in the mortal realm. In an instant, Lin Muyu could not help but feel a chill in her heart. Was she going to die here? Impossible. He roared and his left fist was suddenly filled with power. He punched towards the god-destroying pagoda. Pung! The two forces collided. Lin Muyu almost used all his strength, but he still could not block the god-destroying pagoda. His body suddenly fell and crashed into the wall of the plane. A crisp cracking sound came from his left wrist. At the same time, the power of the god-destroying pagoda whizzed past. Finally, the power of the pagoda dissipated. He had blocked it. He did not die. 3 figures shot over. It was Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xiao. You! Qin Yin quickly supported him. Her eyes were red. Are you all right? I'm fine. I won't die. Lin Muyu spat out a mouthful of blood and smiled bitterly. It's just a broken arm, Tang Xiaoxi said. The power of the god-destroying pagoda this time is at least 5 times stronger than the last time in the mortal realm, Xiao said. The attack launched from the demon realm doesn't need to travel through many layers of space. Naturally, the power is extraordinary. But, the power of the god-destroying pagoda is increasing every day. This is an indisputable fact. Increasing every day? What does that mean? Qin Yin was stunned. Xiao said, it's very simple. Ancestor Emperor Ziyan's god-destroying pagoda isn't the perfect god-destroying pagoda. It's an incomplete one. However, Ziyan is obviously cultivating the god-destroying pagoda. He is relying on the blood of the living beings in the 6 realms to nourish and cultivate. The god-destroying pagoda will become more and more perfect. Once the god-destroying pagoda is truly complete, even you will not be able to block it. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin looked over in shock. Lin Muyu nodded and admitted, that's right. If the power of the god-destroying pagoda increases by another 50%, I will die. The kind of death where my soul will scatter. Do we have no other way? Yes, but it's very difficult. Chapter 12-14. What is it? Tell me first. The power of the sword domain. Xiao took a deep look at the 3 of them and said, only by finding the power of the sword domain can it be possible to fight against the powerful god-destroying tower alone. The power of the sword domain, what is that? Lin Muyu was confused. Although she had stepped into the Mahayana heavenly Tao, she still knew very little about these things. Xiao smiled and said, the sword domain is a kind of supreme realm of the sword Tao, using the sword domain to fight against all things. However, the sword domain has not appeared in the world for thousands of years. Moreover, only a few divine weapons are qualified to pry into the sword domain. What do you mean specifically? You have to open the second form of the Shenyuan sword to be able to comprehend the power of the sword domain. Xiao said indifferently, however. I'm only a god of the universe, and I've never seen the true might of the sword domain. I've only heard my master mention it all those years ago, and I don't know how to activate the second form of the Shenyuan sword. Lin Muyu was speechless and said, in the end, isn't this the same as not saying anything? No, there is someone who may be able to help you. Who? The supreme being above the gold, heavenly Emperor Fuxi. Master. Master is in the gold? Where is the gold? Xiao smiled slightly. I can use the northern heavenly will to point out the location of the gold for you, but you must first recover from your injuries. Otherwise, if you meet people from the demon realm on the way, I am afraid it will not be good. A martial god with a broken arm may not be so powerful. Yes. In the Hall of Great Accomplishment, Lin Muyu rested and recuperated. The injuries of righteous gods recovered extremely quickly. Within a day, their bones began to regenerate and heal, and within 3 days, their broken wrists would almost be completely healed. As for Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, they went to the Western Divine Realm to look for Shi Yan and Eva. With Lin Muyu overseeing the Eastern Heaven Realm, she was enough to match 100 righteous gods, so there was no need to worry. When Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi arrived at the Temple of Light, they found that there was almost no one in the temple. On the other hand, Mara's army was flying everywhere on the spiritual mountain in the distance. They could see the light of the wings of the seraphim from afar. They were fighting the demon army there. It could be imagined that the Primal Chaos Realm was adjacent to the Western Divine Realm, and the Primal Chaos Realm was the exit of the Devil Realm to the outside world. Since the Devil Realm's great army was mobilized, the Western Divine Realm would naturally bear the brunt of the attack. Xiao Shi, they have already started fighting. Have you seen Sister Xian? Qin Yin quickly pulled out the Donghua sword. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi also held out the Zhu Rong sacred fire sword and said, Xiao Yin, let's go. It seems that Terralyn is there too. Great, I still have a gift for her. Qin Yin smiled slightly, and her figure had already turned into a lightning bolt and rushed over at full speed. Boom! The dazzling golden dragon crystal exploded in the air, and the power of order seemed to be able to tear everything apart. It easily crushed hundreds of Mara's bodies into pieces. Qin Yin's graceful body suddenly stopped in the air. Facing the countless attacking Mara's wings, she opened her arms, and the four wings behind her shone brightly. Countless dragon crystals flew into the sky. Boom, 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 blood rained down from the sky. The power of the graceful goddess was so strong that Maras couldn't fight back at all. Even a few demon generals didn't dare to fight with Qin Yin at all. They quickly urged their mounts to fly away. Tang Xiaoxi landed on the spirited mountain with a bang. She stepped on the flames, and the flame-breaking fire spread out like a shock wave. Poison Spike Mara, who couldn't dodge in time, screamed and died in the sea of fire. In an instant, more than 200 were killed. Tang Xiaoxi's Zhu Rong sacred fire sword was even more powerful. The blade swept through the air, almost splitting the spirited mountain in half. Ah! Shi Yan and Eva were shocked. They turned around and looked. Shi Yan was so excited that she almost shouted, Xin, is that you? Qin Yin looked down at everyone and smiled, Sister Haiyan, Lady Eva. Terralyn, Lake, Teacher Li Fei, you're all here? Terralyn and Lake were also surprised. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Qin Yin had actually become so strong. She was even much stronger than the two seraphim. This was really amazing. Another beautiful god of slaughter had already rushed to the sky with a flaming longsword. After a few slashes, the Mara's group dispersed. They couldn't compete with Tang Xiaoxi at all. There was even a demon general who was directly burned to death by Tang Xiaoxi's area of effect attack. Shi Yan chuckled, both of you are here? Yes. After Qin Yin confirmed that the Mara's army had retreated, she said, the three of us ascended to the divine realm yesterday. You stayed in the Eastern Heaven realm. Xiao Shi and I came to take a look first and solve the urgent problem of the Western Divine Realm. Shi Yan nodded. Bai Feng Holy King has gathered nearly 3 million Mara's army to invade the Western Divine Realm. Every day, hundreds of thousands of Mara come to find trouble with us. Fortunately, you and Xiao Shi came. Otherwise, we might not be able to resist them anymore. I see. Qin Yin was a little worried, but didn't know how to comfort Shi Yan. She could only say, I heard that you went to the demon realm. Sister Haiyan, are you okay? I'm fine, it's good that you're fine. The two sisters had reunited after a long time. What could be better than being safe with each other? Tang Xiaoxi descended from the sky and took out a spear from her space bag. She threw it directly to Terralyn and said, Here, Terralyn, it's returned to its owner. This is for you. Dig spear? Terralyn was pleasantly surprised. Wasn't this given to Dora by the ruler? Yes, Dora has already been executed by us in the human world, so this spear is now given to you. I think you're the most suitable. Tang Xiaoxi giggled, you're more compatible with this divine weapon's temperament. Thank you, Xiao Shi. Terralyn was delighted and held the spear in her hand. Although the spear's original owner was Dora, it didn't hinder the spear's amazing lethality. At this moment, Qin Yin said, by the way, Sister Haiyan, after the heavenly punishment, everyone lost their divine power. How did you maintain your divine power? Eva and I entered the demon realm, so we avoided the heavenly punishment and were able to preserve the power of our divinities. As for the others, I used the light primordial stone to reawaken their divine power, so we're not the true gods of the Mahayana heavenly path. We're just some old gods that aren't recognized by heaven and earth. But, old gods are old gods, there's no need to stick to these things. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes swept across everyone, and she said softly, it seems that everyone's strength hasn't returned to its original level. Yes, the light primordial stone can only awaken divine power, but it can't completely restore it. Moreover, the light primordial stone is limited, and we've used it all up, but it's still useless. Shi Yan pointed to the ground. There were still many blood-stained or injured cultivators standing there, numbering in the thousands. Shi Yan said, look, Xin, they're all depraved gods that came from various planes to help me protect the Radiant Saint Hall. However, the light primordial stone is too rare, and they can't awaken their power. Many of them have died under Mara's claws. Qin Yin bit her red lips and looked at the ground. Apart from the many injured people, there were also many corpses. Apart from that, there were also the wreckage of some huge machines that seemed to be torn apart steel warships. Qin Yin was experienced and knowledgeable. Although she didn't know what they were, she could guess that they were the products of some advanced plane. Although they were strong, they weren't strong enough to fight against Mara's army. It seems that the Western Divine Realm's top priority is the light primordial stone. Qin Yin smiled. Yes. Shi Yan nodded. One light primordial stone can create an old god, but most of the light primordial stones in the Divine Realm were taken away by Claude when he left. So, we can only do this. Do you know where Claude escaped to? I don't know. Shi Yan bit her red lips and said, why, Xin, do you want to find Claude and ask him for the light primordial stone? Yes, it's a waste to leave it in the hands of someone like him. How many light primordial stones does Claude have? I'm not too sure, but he should have at least 100. If the Western Divine Realm has 100 battle angels, I'm afraid they won't be so passive. Yes. Qin Yin smiled. Sister, I'll leave Xiaoxi to guard the Radiant Saint Hall with you. I'll help you find Claude and retrieve the light primordial stones that originally belonged to the Western Divine Realm. Can you really find him? I can try. Yes. If you can find Claude, Xin, then the Western Divine Realm will owe you a new lease on life. Late at night, the Radiant Saint Hall was silent. Qin Yin stood on the arm of the damaged statue outside the Radiant Saint Hall and gazed into the universe. The power of order swept into the universe like a powerful wave. She needed to use the power of order of the graceful goddess to find Claude's whereabouts. Ever since the day she became the graceful goddess, Qin Yin became more familiar with the order of the 6 realms. This was also the reason why she recommended herself to Shi Yan. Just like that, Qin Yin stood motionless like a statue of a goddess for several hours. Tang Xiaoxi sat at the side and enjoyed the night view of the Western Divine Realm. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Yin's body suddenly trembled and she opened her beautiful eyes. Found him? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Yes, I found him. I'll go there. Xiaoxi, you stay here and help Sister Xian. Okay. Before she finished her sentence, Qin Yin had already disappeared from where she was. Her body had entered a fast-moving spatial trajectory, and even Tang Xiaoxi could not see her anymore. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Muyu's wrist injury had healed. It was time to meet Fuxi in the Golden Palace. After Xiao's North Tianluan gave him the coordinates, Lin Muyu rushed into the sky. He didn't have much time left. He had to find Fuxi as soon as possible and return to the Eastern Heaven Realm. After all, Mara's army could be involved at any time. Chapter 12:15. Jean. Roar, lightning flashed as the Dark Servant launched its attack against Jean for the umpteenth time. Lightning rained down from the sky, and raging flames raged against the sword formation. Amidst the rumbling sounds, the bottom of Jean seemed to be hit by the flames, and the whole thing shook. Fan Yang roared, the veins on his arms bulging, and his god force nearly doubled. This was Fan Yang's cultivation ability, the ability to stimulate his greatest potential. Finally, Shi Ming's attack retreated a little under the dense sword chi attack, but he still howled and opened his huge mouth, looking like he was going to swallow Jean in one breath. Fu Shi stood in the center of the sword array with a sage-like appearance and said with a frown, "This demonic beast is getting stronger and more arrogant. It looks like the demonic aura has completely entered the 6 realms." Miyu frowned slightly. "Master, what should we do?" "Continue to strengthen the sword array. Shi Ming won't be able to hold on for much longer. After he uses up all his demonic energy this time, he will naturally leave." "Yes." Right at this moment, blood-red lightning flashed in the sky, and the thunder roared even more violently. A figure appeared in the sky, and the long sword in his hand glowed with a golden light as he slashed at Shi Ming. Boom! Shi Ming howled in pain. His chin was almost split in half, and blood gushed out. He retreated into the demonic cloud and suddenly spat out several flames. The figure in the sky blocked all the attacks with his sword, dealing with them with ease. "Who is that?" Fan Yang asked in surprise. Miyue's beautiful eyes also widened. "Yes, who is he?" "His Mahayana heavenly god's power is so strong." Fu Shi smiled slightly. This kid actually took the initiative to find us." "It's little junior brother." Meiyu's eyebrows immediately lit up. "He really is handsome." At this time, Lin Meiyu put away his sword and landed on Jean. He had seen Fu Shi before, so he immediately walked forward respectfully, knelt on one knee, and cupped his fists. "Disciple greets master." "You, get up. There's no need to be so reserved." Fu Shi smiled lightly. Lin Meiyu stood up and said, "Master, is Jean doing well here? I saw, that evil beast just now was very strong. Its strength was not inferior to the god-destroying pagoda at all. That's only natural. This divine beast, Shi Ming, once devoured the entire demon world, and the demon world was in its stomach. But now, Shi Ming has fallen and become a demon. After absorbing so much of the demon world's power, it's naturally extremely powerful." Lin Meiyu grinned. "I understand." Miyu quickly walked over and held onto Lin Meiyu's shoulder as she asked with a smile, "Do you know who I am?" Lin Meiyu was dumbfounded. Fu Shi chuckled. "I have a total of 4 disciples under me. You is ranked 5th. Let's get to know each other." Miyu said with a smile, "Little junior brother, I am your second senior sister, Miyu." "Greetings, senior sister Miyu." Fan Yang walked forward with a smile. "Little junior brother, I am the eldest disciple of the sect, Fan Yang." "Greetings, eldest senior brother Fan Yang." "Here, these two are 3rd senior sister Wan Xing and 4th senior brother Hao Chen." "Greetings, senior sister Wan Xing, senior brother Hao Chen." Lin Meiyu said with a smile, "I didn't expect that I would have so many fellow disciples." Miyu chuckled. "How is it? Do you feel like you've returned home?" "Yes." Fu Shi stroked his beard and said, "Fan Yang, Miyu, you've all seen it. Yu's cultivation is even higher than yours. This little junior brother's aptitude is unprecedented. You should exchange pointers and learn from each other in the future." "Yes, master." Fu Shi continued, You don't come without a reason. You must have a reason for coming here, right? The God world is in such turmoil. You can't possibly come here for no reason. Master is wise." Lin Muyu said respectfully, "I'm here to find a power to fight against the gods destroying tower. Fairy Xiao told me that there's a power called Sword Domain that can fight against the gods destroying tower. However, I must activate the second form of the Shenyuan sword. Master, please teach me how to comprehend the power of this sword domain?" The sword domain. Fu Shi pondered deeply for a moment, and then he said with a smile, Very few people know of the sword domain since ancient times, and even fewer have comprehended it. Do you really want to seek it? The gods destroying tower is too powerful. I don't want the righteous gods to be killed one by one. Yes, as a martial war god, you have such a compassionate heart. This is the fortune of the righteous path. However, the sword domain is filled with danger. Even if you are a Mahayana heavenly Tao's righteous god, you might not return. Are you sure you want to go? Yes, the god's destroying tower is getting stronger day by day. I must also become stronger. Lin Muyu said resolutely, even if I die, I will not regret it. Good. You are indeed my disciple. Fushi said proudly, the secret of the sword domain is hidden in the eternal sword domain. I must tell you what kind of place the eternal sword domain is. The eternal sword domain is a cage, a place of exile. Since ancient times, countless demon gods have been sent into the eternal sword domain by the laws of heaven and earth. No one who entered the eternal sword domain came back alive. Do you still insist on going? Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, if I go back on my words and say that I don't want to go, my senior brothers and sisters will definitely laugh at me. So, I still want to go. Sigh, Fushi sighed and said, you are my proudest disciple. I really don't want to see you walk into a dead end. If Master really doesn't want me to die on the way to the eternal sword domain, why don't you tell me what's there? What's my biggest enemy? I don't know, Master. I've never been there. Fushi floated in the air, looking like an immortal. He looked at Lin Muyu and said, but since you've made up your mind, don't worry and go. From the moment you decided to search for the eternal sword domain, your fate was already decided. Go, you. I'll be waiting for you in Jin. But, once I go to the eternal sword domain, then, what about the Eastern Divine Realm? If Mara's army attacks the Eastern Divine Realm again, I'm afraid no one will be able to stop them. Don't worry. If we really can't stop them, Master will personally help Xiao out. Thank you, Master. Lin Muyu was a little confused again. She asked, but Master, how do I go to the eternal sword domain? The eternal sword domain doesn't belong to any plane. It exists with a single thought. The ancient gods called it the realm of extreme evil. You must be ready. Only then can I open the door to the eternal sword domain for you. Master, I'm ready. Lin Muyu unsheathed the Shenyuan sword. Blood-colored lightning crackled around her. She had already transformed into her battle form as a martial god. Her aura was so imposing that Miyue, Fan Yang, and the others were forced to take several steps back. In terms of cultivation, Lin Muyu was indeed a level higher than the other 4 disciples. Little junior brother, you must be careful. Miyue said softly. Don't worry, senior sister Miyue. Lin Muyu had already realized that Miyue loved her little junior brother the most. At this time, a black aura slowly rose from Fushi's palm. He closed his eyes and suddenly waved his arm. Suddenly, a pitch-black path appeared at the edge of the golden world. This path led to an imperceptible black hole. That black hole was the entrance to the eternal sword domain, and also the place where Lin Muyu was about to go. Miserable screams and angry roars came from within the black hole. It was as if countless vengeful spirits were waiting inside. At this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly felt that she couldn't catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. However, this tiger's den was probably 10,000 times more dangerous than any tiger's den in the world. Go, you. We will wait here for your return, Fushi said. Thank you, Master. Please take care. Lin Muyu carried her long sword and floated into the black hole. Suddenly, the temperature around her suddenly dropped. It was even colder than the den of gods and demons in the 64 domains. It was really an inexplicable temperature. Lin Muyu's eyes widened. There was still a long path inside the black hole, and hideous faces appeared in the darkness around her. They were roaring and wailing. There were men and women, but they were extremely terrifying. They were not human at all, and they kept screaming at Lin Muyu, "Young man, save me, take me away from here. I am willing to be loyal to you forever, save me, I don't want to rot like this, save me, take me away, I don't want to die, I can't accept this." Rotting arms reached out one after another, but they were blocked by Lin Muyu's protective aura. Lin Muyu couldn't even tell if these people were real or just an illusion. However, at this moment, he felt like he was in purgatory. This place was much more terrifying than the ghost realm. Lin Muyu stepped on the void and sped up to leave this path filled with resentment. In front of him, there seemed to be a faint light. Was that the exit? When he was about to get close, Lin Muyu clearly saw that it was not an exit, but the eyes of a huge python. It had already opened its mouth and was about to swallow its prey. You're courting death. Lin Muyu flipped her sword and swept out with the power of the sacred martial. Her entire body was like a spinning top as she rushed into the python's stomach with countless sword chi. When Lin Muyu flew over, the python was also killed by her. What the hell is this? In the darkness, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew past, and Lin Muyu was already in another world. In the darkness, he had actually completed passing through the eternal sword domain. Squinting his eyes, Lin Muyu carefully looked around and found that he was in a messy wilderness. Now that he was floating in mid-air, there was a chain of mountains below him, but there were only mountains and no trees. There were only some long-dead tree roots. Death chi, a thick death chi filled his nose. Many people must have died here, and not a single one of them was not an expert who had once made a name for himself. However, there was no tombstone in the thick aura of death. This meant that the dead had not been buried. Rustle, rustle, after landing, cracking sounds came from under Lin Muyu's feet. Looking closely, he found that it was a leg bone that belonged to a human. He couldn't help but frown. How unlucky. At this moment, a cold wind suddenly came from behind him. It was the sound of weapons tearing through the air. Without any explanation, the person had used a killing move. How fast was Lin Muyu's reaction? He dodged and swung the Xianyuan sword back. Good, let's fight. Chapter 12-16. Swoosh. The blunt weapon missed its target and landed heavily on the ground, causing the soil to crumble. The attacker was a black-faced man with a ferocious expression. He was not holding a sword in his hand, but a rotting and rusty iron rod. It was not an exaggeration to call it a blunt weapon. His speed was too slow, at least in Lin Muyu's eyes, it was ridiculously slow. Clang! The Xianyuan sword swept across and cut the iron rod in half. Lin Muyu took the opportunity to advance and kicked the man's abdomen with her battle boots. The black-faced man groaned and fell to the ground, spitting blood. Before he could even raise his head, the sharp blade of the Xianyuan sword was already at his neck. Lin Muyu said indifferently, "Speak. Why did you attack me without saying a word?" The black-faced man looked at her angrily but did not speak. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down a few times as he stammered something incomprehensible. What do you mean? Lin Muyu was surprised. However, the black-faced man grabbed the blade of the Xianyuan sword. Blood seeped out of his palms, and he pressed his throat against the blade. With a poochie sound, the sword had already pierced through his throat, and he lay there twitching. Lin Muyu was perplexed. She flicked the blood off the blade of her sword. The man had not said a word, and it was obvious that he wanted to speak, but he did not. Could he be mute? Without thinking too much, Lin Muyu squatted down and searched the black-faced man's body. Apart from an iron rod and ragged clothes, he had nothing on him. His body was thin and it was obvious that he had been malnourished for a long time. Lin Muyu could see that the man's stomach was empty. He had been starving for a long time. How could this be? He was very surprised. According to his master, wasn't the Eternal Sword Domain a place where experts gathered? The man in front of him seemed to be at most a hierarch, but he had almost starved to death. He would have starved to death if he had not sent him off. Forget it, Lin Muyu sheathed the Xianyuan sword and continued walking forward. Her goal was not to kill people in the Eternal Sword Domain, but to find the strongest power in the Eternal Sword Domain. The two sides of the mountain range were uneven, and the Eternal Sword Domain was filled with a deathly aura. There was barely any greenery. Along the way, Lin Muyu would occasionally see a few trees with leaves that had been gnawed clean. Perhaps it was an animal that had eaten the leaves, or perhaps it was a human or a god. Although gods could go without food for a long time, it did not mean that they could go without food for thousands of years. Generally speaking, a god's physical strength would be affected if they did not eat for half a year. Russell, stepping on the fallen leaves, Lin Muyu was thinking about the secrets of the eternal sword domain. Suddenly, a few auras rippled in the distance. They were filled with murderous intent. Looking into the distance, the hills on both sides of the valley were silent. However, Lin Muyu knew that there were a few people lying in ambush in the dead shrubs. Moreover, their target was her. These people's cultivation levels were not low. Lin Muyu could not see through one of them. The eternal sword domain was indeed an ominous place. Whoosh! Before she could get within 100 meters, an arrow was suddenly shot at her at an incredible speed. Lin Muyu's speed was even faster. A blood-colored holy martial power appeared on both of his arms, and he swept his fist horizontally to knock the arrow away. At the same time, a few other arrows also flew over. The strength of the arrows was very strong, to the point that Lin Muyu's fist was slightly numb. These people's arm strength and archery skills were all above Wei Chao's. Hong! Lin Muyu turned into a bolt of lightning and flew to the top of the mountain. Looking down, she saw a few people dressed in black put down their bows and pulled out their swords. They looked at her with hostility. Their swords glowed with a cold light. Clearly, they were much better equipped than the previous person. All of them were gritting their teeth. "Who are you people?" Lin Muyu asked. "The people who will kill you," one of them said with a sinister voice. His sword turned into a ray of light and flew over. In an instant, the 7 people in the bushes attacked at the same time. They came from different angles, but their intentions were the same. Lin Muyu used the falling star steps. Her figure suddenly flipped in the air. Sword chi slashed at 2 people and she kicked one of them. At the same time, a cold wind attacked her from behind. She quickly turned around and blocked it with her sword. Pung! Golden light shot out in all directions. The shock numbed her arms, and she retreated a little. The attacker was the one with the strongest aura. He forced Lin Muyu back a few steps. He was not in good shape either. Blood even flowed from the corner of his mouth. "Kill him. Don't let him go," several people shouted. Lin Muyu was also determined to kill. Her Xianyuan sword turned into a bolt of lightning and swept across 2 of her opponents. At the same time, she punched out with her iron fist and pierced through the 5th person's abdomen. She kicked the 6th person and sent him crashing into the field, screaming incessantly. In just a moment, 5 of the 7 were killed, 1 was severely injured, and the other was injured. Who are you?" Among the 7 people, the voice of the strongest person was trembling. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is who you are." He had almost given up resisting. Lin Muyu was ruthless. If he resisted, he would probably die. After a few seconds, he said, "My name is Zhang Wei. I am a member of the Hunter League." "Hunter League?" "Yes." Lin Muyu walked forward and took the long sword from Zhang Wei's hand. She asked calmly, "What is the Hunter League? Can you tell me?" "The Hunter League is just an alliance, but it is very powerful. It covers almost the entire Eternal Sword domain." Who are you?" Zhang Wei's eyes flashed with fear and panic. "Don't worry. If you don't want to kill me, I won't kill you." Lin Muyu's eyes were calm. She said, "Now, tell me. What is the Eternal Sword domain? Who are the people? What are the forces? Tell me in as much detail as you can." Zhang Wei frowned. "You don't even know these things. Are you from another world?" Zhang Wei's face was full of shock. "Impossible. Impossible. The door to the Eternal Sword domain has been closed for thousands of years. It's impossible for someone from another world to come here." Lin Muyu said coldly, you haven't answered a single one of my questions. Oh, this. Zhang Wei sorted out his thoughts and said, I don't know where to start. The Eternal Sword Domain has existed for tens of thousands of years. It is a world where gods, demons, and humans coexist. The resources here are extremely scarce, and there are less than 4 hours of sunlight every day. As a result, most of the plants have died. The gods who were exiled to the Eternal Sword Domain fought and killed each other. In the end, most of them hid themselves. A few of the strongest ones built cities and raised the humans. They continued to grow plants that required less sunlight for food. Wait a minute. Lin Muyu said, I heard Master say that the gods who were exiled to the Eternal Sword Domain are all gods. Where did the humans come from? Zhang Wei smiled. Gods and their descendants are considered humans without any cultivation. They are all mortals. The sinful gods who were left behind in the Eternal Sword Domain don't care about the lives of their descendants. After they give birth to them, they abandon them like a pair of worn-out shoes. That's how the humans came to be. What about you? How did you come to this world? Zhang Wei frowned and said, I was one of the last gods to be exiled to the Eternal Sword Domain. In my hometown, I had a woman I loved. Later on, her father did not agree to our marriage. Instead, he betrothed her to another person with great power. She agreed, so I slaughtered her entire clan in a fit of rage. That's why I was exiled. Oh, right. Her father was the divine king there. Lin Muyu grinned. You really do all sorts of evil. Zhang Wei said, I've been exiled for so many years. I've always regretted what I've done. However, there's no turning back. I can only struggle on in the Eternal Sword Domain. Alright, let's talk about the Hunters' Alliance. What's the deal with this alliance? Zhang Wei pointed at a blood-red emblem on his shoulder and said, do you see this? Food is extremely scarce in the Eternal Sword Domain. That's why everyone kills each other and treats their enemies as food. The Hunters' Alliance is a hunting alliance. We don't attack each other. On the contrary, we work together like a pack of wolves to attack powerful targets and hunt them down. It's just that, Zhang Wei looked at the pile of corpses around him and smiled bitterly. It's just that we failed this time. We've waited here for a day and a night for you. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Lin Muyu said, in that case, I met a person who was holding a blunt weapon. Even when he chose to commit suicide, he didn't manage to say a complete sentence. What's going on? In that case, he must be a loner. Zhang Wei said calmly, people who live alone in the wilderness of the Eternal Sword Domain. These people eat anything. Animal corpses, grass roots in the soil, insects in the river. Loners are also one of our hunting targets. Moreover, they're used to living alone. It's possible that they haven't spoken for 10,000 years. If you live alone and don't speak for 10,000 years, you'll also lose the ability to speak. Lin Muyu, Zhang Wei frowned and looked straight at him. I've told you everything I know. Can you tell me who you are now? You should be someone from another world. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to kill 5 hunters so easily. Even the lords of those cities might not have the ability to do so. Who are you? That's right. I am indeed someone from another world. I'm a god. I've come to the Eternal Sword Domain with only one goal, and that is to search for the power of the Sword Domain. Do you know about the Sword Domain? The power of the Sword Domain, Zhang Wei frowned and said, I'm not afraid that you'll be disappointed. I've been in the Eternal Sword Domain for thousands of years, but I've never heard of it. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. Instead, she reached out and removed the hunter's emblem from Zhang Wei's arm. She crushed it and said, from now on, you'll follow me. I need a guide here. Perhaps I can take you out of the Eternal Sword Domain in the future. You can take me out? Who are you? Lin Muyu turned around and smiled brilliantly. My name is Lin Muyu. I'm a righteous god of the 6 realms outside the Eternal Sword Domain. I'm a titled martial god, and I wield the strongest sacred martial heavenly Tao. Do you have any more questions? Zhang Wei. Chapter 12-17. Wait, there's still one alive. Just as Lin Muyu was about to leave, Zhang Wei turned around and stepped into the bushes. With a swing of his long sword, he beheaded the heavily injured hunter, and the head rolled far away. Then, Zhang Wei searched his body and found a small bag. He took it off, then took the other hunter's bag and said, "Lord War God, we can go now." "What's that?" Lin Muyu asked in surprise. "Food bags." Zhang Wei said, "Every hunter who goes out to hunt will bring at least 3 days' worth of rations. These bags are enough for us to survive in the wilderness for half a month." Lin Muyu was a little speechless. "I don't need it. I don't lack food." He patted the cosmos sack at his waist and said, "I brought enough food for a year. You can keep it for yourself." "Yes, Lord War God." Zhang Wei was a little shocked. Then, he looked at the sky and said, "It's going to be dusk soon. Lord War God, let's find a cave to hide in first." "Hide? Hide from what?" "Those demons hiding in the darkness." The guard said in a low voice, "You might not know this, but I've said it before. There are gods, demons, and humans in the eternal sword domain. Whenever night falls, humans hide in their houses and caves, trembling in fear. Even gods don't dare to appear outside. Those demons will be accompanied by gales of wind and sand, devouring everything that can be eaten." Lin Muyu frowned. "What are those demons?" "They came with the wind and can hide in the yellow sand. Even I can't fight against 2 demons working together. Besides, once they appear, they will be in groups. We don't have much time left. We must hide within an hour, or we will become 2 sets of bones tomorrow." "That's scary?" "All right, let's find a place to hide." "All right." As a squad leader of the Hunters' Union, Zhang Wei was very familiar with the terrain, so he quickly found a very hidden cave. He cut off a huge rock with his sword and used it to cover the entrance of the cave. After that, he lived in the cave, roasting his food and eating it. Lin Muyu watched from the side, only to find that Zhang Wei broke a piece of bread into 2 pieces, only roasted 1 piece, and put the other half into the food bag, looking quite thrifty. It seemed that the gods of the eternal sword domain really did have it tough. Lin Muyu fumbled around and found some deer leg meat in her chinkuan bag. She gave it to him and said, "Roast this. It tastes better and there's oil." "Ah. Meat." Zhang Wei was stunned. "What? I haven't eaten meat in a long time." "Aren't you a member of the Hunters' Union? Logically speaking, after you kill your prey, you should eat their flesh." "No." Zhang Wei shook his head and said, "In the eternal sword domain, I can only be considered a newcomer. Moreover, I was exiled because I was filled with disappointment and hatred. I kill because those who betrayed me deserve to be killed, not because I'm really that evil. Although I've joined the Hunters' Union, every time I go out, I only want dry rations. I don't want human flesh, so the food I'm given is very little. Looks like you're not completely rotten." Lin Muyu glanced at him and said, "Roast it and eat it. This is venison, not human flesh." "Many thanks, my lord." Just as Zhang Wei was roasting the venison and smelling the fragrant aroma, a gale began to blow outside. Lin Muyu couldn't help but stand up and walk to the entrance of the cave. She squinted her eyes and looked outside, only to see that the sky had turned dark. A biting cold storm swept past, bringing with it yellow sand. It was as if the end of the world had come. No wonder the trees outside did not grow tall. The wind was so strong that it could even roll stones, and the trees had long since been uprooted. Hiss, hiss, in the darkness, figures appeared one after another. They were monsters walking on 4 feet. Their eyes were dark, and there were 2 jaws in front of their heads that were like knives. They were probably used to hunt and kill prey. Moreover, each of these monsters let out a chilling hiss. They walked in the wind as if they were walking on flat ground, searching for prey. Zhang Wei pulled out a small knife and began to cut the venison. As he ate, he said, "Lord War God, what do you see?" "Some big bugs running around on the ground." "Oh, those are the legendary crypt demons. They can hide in the yellow sand and the wind, killing people without leaving a trace. Many gods have died in their hands and become their food. I advise you not to try to fight the crypt demons. Once surrounded by the crypt demons, even a god will find it hard to escape death." "Yes, I know." Lin Muyu could sense how powerful these crypt demons were. Naturally, she would not try to fight them easily. Moreover, each of these crypt demons had the battle prowess of 100 Mara. If this was the army that the Devil Realm had sent out, it would be a disaster for the 6 realms. After watching for a while, Lin Muyu walked back and sat down. She said, "Zhang Wei, have you heard of a story about the Sword Realm?" "I have." Zhang Wei wiped his mouth and said, "The City of Dawn." "The City of Dawn?" "Yes, Lord. I heard that 100,000 years ago, there was no City of Dawn. The 10 strongest experts of the Eternal Sword Domain fought there. In the end, 9 of them died, and only 1 survived. His name was Meng Taifeng. He built the City of Dawn single-handedly. It is said that the strongest power in the Eternal Sword Domain is in Meng Taifeng's hands. Perhaps, the power of the Sword Realm that Lord War God is looking for is in the City of Dawn. Alright, where is the City of Dawn? Take me there." This, Zhang Wei hesitated, then said, "Hunters do not have the right to enter the City of Dawn. The gods in the City of Dawn have already pledged their loyalty to the City Lord, Meng Taifeng. Even if we go to the City of Dawn, we will not be able to enter. Moreover, you have killed 6 hunters. The Hunters' Alliance will soon follow us. What we need to consider is not how to get to the City of Dawn, but how to survive. Is the Hunters' Alliance that powerful?" "Yes, there are millions of members in the Hunters' Alliance. They have eyes and ears everywhere in the Eternal Sword Domain. Moreover, the Hunters' Alliance has a rule of iron and blood. They will definitely find us." "Lord, do you know what the conditions to join the Hunters' Alliance are?" "What?" 2 people must form a partnership and apply to join the alliance. After that, they must fight and kill each other. The one who survives will be able to join the alliance. Lin Muyu frowned. Who came up with such a perverted rule? The leader of the alliance, Luo Xingji. Sounds like an expert. Yes. If the City of Dawn's Meng Taifeng is the king of the Eternal Sword Domain, then Luo Xingji is the other king who can rival Meng Taifeng. No matter what, I must go to the City of Dawn tomorrow. Alright. Zhang Wei felt a little helpless. "Lord, if you are not afraid of death, I will accompany you." "Alright." Suddenly, a creaking sound came from the entrance of the cave. It seemed like the stone blocking the entrance was beginning to loosen. "What's going on?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Wei hurriedly extinguished the flames. "This is bad. The smell of roasted meat might have attracted the crypt demon. I was too careless." "Don't make a sound, don't make a sound." Lin Muyu had already unsheathed the Shenyuan sword. The sword glowed faintly in the darkness. The creaking sound became even more intense. It seemed like something was cutting the stone. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and the stone exploded. A giant beast hidden in the yellow sand pounced towards them. It was the crypt demon that Zhang Wei had mentioned. Roar! Its mouth was wide open, and its jaws were also open. It was ready to bite its prey at any time. But this time, its prey was clearly not simple. The power of the Saint Martial appeared around Lin Muyu's arms. Her sword flashed like lightning, and the crypt demon immediately retreated. Its head split open in the middle, and green blood splattered everywhere. My God! Zhang Wei turned pale with fright. On one hand, he was shocked by Lin Muyu's strength. She had killed a crypt demon with a single strike. This was too shocking. On the other hand, it had alarmed the crypt demons. More crypt demons would soon arrive. As expected, the roars in the distance became louder and more frequent. In the darkness, pairs of eyes with a gloomy luster stared at the two people in the cave. Is this cave connected to the other end? Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Wei shook his head. No, it's over, it's over. We're going to die here tonight. Why are you so unambitious? Lin Muyu said. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Let's fight our way out. I'll lead the way, and you'll cover the rear. Don't worry, my Saint Martial power will greatly increase your strength. Tell me where we can take refuge. Nearby, there's only a small city nearby that can take refuge. Aleut City is to the north, about 20 kilometers from here. That far? Forget it, where's the north? Straight ahead. Go. Lin Muyu shouted. The power of the Saint Martial power turned into a ray of light and seeped into Zhang Wei's body, greatly stimulating his potential. For a moment, Zhang Wei was pleasantly surprised. This. What kind of power is this? Lord Martial God, I feel. I'm almost invincible. No, you're still far from being invincible. Go. Yes. The Xianyuan sword shone brightly, and Lin Muyu raised her sword and unleashed a furious sky-splitting slash. 100-meter-long sword chi slashed out, clearing a path in front of them. The crypt demons actually revealed expressions of fear, and they stopped moving forward as they watched their companions being killed. Zhang Wei was stunned for a moment. He had lived in the eternal sword domain for thousands of years, but he had never seen the crypt fiends show such fear. But this fear only lasted for less than half a minute. Under the roar of a certain evil beast, the group of crypt fiends chased after them. This was their normal behavior. Lin Muyu rushed in front, waving her sword. Sword chi shot out like cannonballs, while reincarnation power floated in her left hand, constantly killing the crypt fiends blocking the way. For a moment, the two of them continued to move forward, and the corpses of the crypt fiends behind them had already piled up. Chapter 12-18. Lin Muyu and Zhang Wei could only advance along the ground with great difficulty. Along the way, there were corpses of crypt fiends and crypt fiends everywhere. These crypt fiends were unlucky. In the past, they only encountered some ordinary experts, and 2 or 3 crypt fiends could kill one. But today, they encountered Lin Muyu, the god of death. The sharp jaws of the crypt fiends couldn't stop the divine weapon in his hand at all. They were cut off with a single slash, unable to resist at all. But there were too many crypt fiends, and Zhang Wei soon began to be unable to stop them. Whoosh! The blade spun through the air and helped Zhang Wei clear the crypt fiends that were surrounding him. The Xianyuan sword spun back as if it had a mind of its own and returned to Lin Muyu's hand. Zhang Wei exclaimed in admiration, Lord Martial God's swordsmanship is truly unprecedented. Lin Muyu frowned, hurry up and keep up, don't get eaten. Yes. The two ran all the way, and soon, a small city appeared in front of them. It was really small, even like a small village. However, the walls were quite high, at least 10 meters, enough to stop the crypt fiends from jumping. Hiss! Hiss! When Lin Muyu and Zhang Wei arrived at the city, the crypt fiends behind them quickly gathered into a group and let out sharp roars. The dense crowd was very frightening. Open the door. Zhang Wei said loudly, did the people on the city hear you? Open the door and let us in. Unexpectedly, a head popped out from the stone wall and shone a lantern outside. Who are you? Do you not want to live anymore in the middle of the night and actually ran outside? Zhang Wei said, we are from the Hunters Alliance. Please let us in. We will repay you generously for saving our lives. The man coughed and said, Aleut is only a small city, it can't stop the fiend's attack. You should leave, there is a big city about 100 miles east. With that said, the watchtower above closed with a bang. Obviously, the people in the city didn't want to let them in at all. But Lin Muyu heard noises coming from inside the city. It seemed that someone was arguing, and the topic of the argument was whether to let the two people outside the city in. Lord Martial God, what should we do? Zhang Wei's face was pale as he turned to face the countless fiends. The sword in Lin Muyu's hand glowed faintly as she said, "You hide behind me. Since they won't let us in, we'll use the city walls as cover and fight the demons with our backs to the city walls. This is much safer than being surrounded." This. Yes, my lord. The crypt demons rushed over in groups, while Lin Muyu swung her sword to fight. Sword Chi raged out, covering the ground with sword marks. At the same time, Lin Muyu circulated her divine power and activated the astral arts with her sacred martial power. Starlight erupted outside the city, and even the ground began to tremble. Inside the city, on the watchtower, a group of people were frowning. The person who had been talking at the watchtower just now had an ashen face. He was a man around 40 years old, wearing half a suit of armor, and his expression was solemn. Right in front of him were a few young people. One of them was a girl with a ponytail. She said unhappily, "Uncle Wang, are we just going to watch two people outside the city die in the mouths of demons? What else can we do? They only have themselves to blame for traveling at night. But their strength is unfathomable. They were able to survive the siege of the crypt demons. Wouldn't it be a pity if such talents died because of exhaustion? We are just a group of exiles. We do not have the right to enter a spectacle like the City of Dawn. We can only stay behind in a small city like Aleut. What we can do is very limited. The number one rule of survival in the Eternal Sword domain is not to do things that are beyond our capabilities. Moreover, the two people outside are from the Hunters League. The Hunters League is cruel and ruthless, so it's best that we don't provoke them. It would be best if they died at the hands of the demons." Uncle Wang smiled faintly, his gaze gentle. But the girl was still a little nervous. The two young men behind her immediately advised, "Forget it, Leah. Don't go against Uncle Wang's wishes. He's doing this for our own good. What we should do is guard the city and prevent the fiends from attacking." All right, the city fell silent, but the rumbling sounds of battle outside the city lasted for a long time until the next day. Although there was no sunlight, the crypt demons still retreated while wagging their tails. These demons were afraid of light and were not willing to fight a god during the day, let alone a god that seemed impossible to defeat. On the watchtower, Uncle Wang, Leah, and the others were stunned. When they opened the city gate, they saw the densely packed corpses of the crypt demons outside. When the city gate slowly opened, the residents in the city cheered. "How is this possible?" Leah was dumbfounded. Uncle Wang frowned. At that moment, two figures flew into the air. Lin Muyu and Chang Wei appeared on the watchtower. Chang Wei raised his sword and slashed at Uncle Wang, shouting, "You be ****starred. You're leaving us in the lurch." Chang Wei's sword was so fast that Uncle Wang could not dodge it in time. On the other hand, Leah was extremely fast. The rusty iron sword in her hand blocked Chang Wei's attack with a clang, but she was also sent flying back. She slid several meters along the wooden plank and landed on the ground. Her entire body charged at Chang Wei like a beam of light. "What a fast speed!" Lin Muyu exclaimed in admiration. Chang Wei's training was not focused on speed, but strength. After being attacked twice in a row, he was starting to feel tired. The girl's long sword was full of dents and it looked like it was about to break. Once the long sword broke, she would not be able to escape death. Lin Muyu had seen Chang Wei's killing methods before. "Enough," Lin Muyu said. Chang Wei hurriedly put away his longsword and quickly retreated. However, the young girl did not let him off. Her figure moved up and down rapidly as she slashed at the guard's head with her sword. "I said that's enough." Lin Muyu suddenly moved her arm horizontally. The Xianyuan's sword was unsheathed by an inch, and just this inch happened to block the girl's iron sword. Suddenly, there was a clang. The iron sword broke, but the Xianyuan's sword was naturally unscathed. Leah took a few steps back, her beautiful and slightly wild face full of horror. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, "You. How did you do it?" Lin Muyu said, "We're just here to ask for an explanation. Why did you leave us in the lurch last night?" Uncle Wang was silent. The group of able-bodied men behind him were just as silent. The two people in front of them were able to fight the demons for an entire night without dying. This meant that their strength had already reached a very terrifying level. Perhaps it wouldn't take much effort for them to slaughter the entire city of Aleut. Finally, Uncle Wang said, "The Eternal Sword domain is full of variables and dangers. We don't dare to easily take in outsiders, and we don't dare to open the city gates without permission. Otherwise, once the demons enter the city, wouldn't the two of you be the cause of disaster for all the residents of the city?" Chang Wei grinned and scolded, "Old thing, it's easy for you to say. If it weren't for the fact that the two of us fought the demons, I'm afraid the two of us would have already been torn apart by the cave demons." That girl was holding a broken sword, but there was a hint of hostility on her face. She said, "Are you here for revenge? Then come at me." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "No, I'm not here for revenge. I'm just borrowing your place to sleep for a day. I exhausted myself last night, so I don't have the strength to continue on the road." Uncle Wang was relieved. "If it's just for a night, then there's no problem." Lin Muyu nodded. "Thank you." Outside the city, countless residents of Aleut had already gone out, holding kitchen knives, hatchets, and other things in their hands. They ran towards the corpses of the cave demons, all of them dancing in joy. "What are they doing?" Lin Muyu held a bowl of soup in one hand as she looked outside the city. There were only a few wild vegetables in the bowl, but it was still hot soup. After a tiring night, drinking a bowl of hot soup could be considered a form of enjoyment. Uncle Wang said, "Aren't you from the Eternal Sword domain?" "I just arrived," Lin Muyu said. Uncle Wang was relieved. "So that's how it is. Look, although these crypt demons are covered in hard armor and their bodies are filled with corrosive poison, the muscles on their backs are very developed. Those muscles are very good ingredients. One crypt demon has about 50 kilograms of meat. We have to cut off this meat as soon as possible. Otherwise, the surrounding cities will definitely come to snatch the crypt demon corpses. That meat looks so disgusting. Can you eat it?" Lin Muyu was stunned. What's there to eat? When people are hungry, they don't care that much. Lin Muyu looked at him again and said, "What's your name? What are you doing here?" "Me?" Uncle Wang smiled slightly. "My name is Wang Fun. I'm a martial arts master who was exiled. Later, I wandered to Aleut and stayed here. The wanderers of Aleut asked me to stay and teach their children martial arts. These youngsters with extraordinary cultivation were organized into teams to defend the city, so the number of people in Aleut increased day by day." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Her gaze swept over Ria behind her. "This girl's cultivation isn't bad." Wang Fun chuckled. "Ria is a rare martial arts genius. Moreover, she is naturally agile. She has already obtained divine power in just 10 years of martial arts cultivation. Nowadays, there is no one in this small city who can compare to Ria in terms of strength. Even as her teacher, I can only concede defeat." Ria blinked her eyes and said, "Big brother, although Uncle Wang said that, I know I can't beat you." Lin Muyu said, "Your potential can continue to be developed. Whether you can beat me in the future is still a variable." The guard at the side was slightly taken aback. "Your Excellency, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to her?" Ria was also taken aback. Lin Muyu played it down. "What I'm interested in is Ria's ability. After a little improvement, her speed should be above mine. If she just stays in Aleut, it would be a pity for this plane." Wang Fun was shocked. "Your Excellency, are you thinking of taking Rhea away? Yes, there is a wider world outside. However, I respect her choice. If she is willing to leave Aleut with me to train in the outside world, I will take her with me. If she is not willing, then forget it. Wang Feng looked at Rhea, his eyes full of reluctance. Rhea also looked at everyone and murmured, What should I choose? Follow your heart, Rhea. Are you willing to follow him out to train? Once you go, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to return, Wang Feng said. Rhea pursed her red lips and said, I don't want to leave everyone, I don't want to leave Aleut, but I really want to pursue greater strength, I want to make myself stronger, then go, we can't be an obstacle to you becoming stronger. Wang Feng waved his hand lightly, his face full of confusion. The child he had nurtured for so many years was going to be taken away just like that, but what could he do? Anyone could see that Lin Muyu's cultivation exceeded Wang Feng's by more than 1.5 stars. Once she followed Lin Muyu, Rhea would become stronger, but if she followed Wang Feng, she might waste her life's aptitude and combat talent. Chapter 12:19. Late at night, the outside of the city was full of noise. The crypt demons seemed to have surrounded Arliet, but the city was too sturdy, so the demons could not break through and could only wander around anxiously. A bonfire was lit on the stone floor of the observation deck, and everyone gathered around it. Lin Muyu took out a large beef leg from her cosmic bag, and Chang Wei roasted it for everyone to eat. Rhea hugged her knees and sat quietly beside Lin Muyu. Master, what's wrong, Rhea? I'm leaving Arliet tomorrow. This is the first time I've left Arliet since I was born. The people in the village said that when Rhea was born, her mother died from excessive blood loss. Rhea is a person born with a curse. Aren't you afraid that Rhea will harm you? No. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Even if you're the bane of all time, you won't be able to kill me. My life is tough. Chang Wei, what do you think? Are you afraid that Rhea will bring bad luck? As Chang Wei oiled the beef, he said, I don't know if my life is tough, but it's definitely tough. Rhea was speechless. Lin Muyu ignored him and continued. Rhea, do you have any unfulfilled wishes in Arliet? If you do, go and fulfill them. We don't know when we'll be back again. Master, Rhea's sword was made for me by Uncle Wang. I've used it for many years, but this morning, that. Lin Muyu smiled and rummaged through her cosmic bag for a while. Soon, an exquisite thin sword appeared in her hand. It was a very delicate sword, but its sharpness was obvious. This sword was found in the 64 domains. It was a subdivine artifact. This sword, do you like it? Rhea's beautiful eyes became hazy, and her mouth opened wide. Is this a legendary divine artifact? A subdivine artifact, but not far from being a divine artifact. This sword's name is Star Trace. You must cherish it in the future. Star Trace will become your most loyal companion. Yes, thank you, Master. Leah was overjoyed. She held the star trail in her hands and couldn't bear to part with it. The guard looked at him from the side and said, Darren, you are biased. Of course I'm biased. Rhea is my student and you're just a passerby, the guard. In any case, we have gone through thick and thin together. That sword of yours is also a sacred artifact. Don't talk about it. Just wait until it breaks. I don't have that many of them here. Don't be too greedy. The next day, the three of them left Aleut. The captain was still carrying his own bag of food, and Rhea did not have much to carry. She and Lin Muyu left the city empty-handed, heading towards Dawnlight City. The daytime in the Eternal Sword domain is very short, less than 10 hours. Hence, we have to find a place to rest within these 10 hours. Otherwise, we'll once again become the hunting targets of the nighttime demons. The guard said as he walked in the wilderness, I feel pairs of eyes staring at me. It must be the crypt demons eyeing us again. Let them watch us. It's fine, Lin Muyu said casually. Ria seemed to be in a good mood. She walked beside Lin Muyu with her hands behind her back and said with a smile, Master, you haven't told me what you're going to teach me yet. Lin Muyu smiled. Your speed can be increased a little more. Also, Ria, have you noticed that although your attacks are fast, they aren't sharp enough? What you should be practicing is to truly form an effective attack. If each of your attacks were fast, accurate, and ruthless, I'm afraid you could have killed the guard yesterday. The guard grinned. I really owe the two of you in my previous life. Ria chuckled. Then what should I do? I have a martial arts manual here. You just need to follow and practice it. Lin Muyu took out a wind-walking technique manual from her Cosmos sack and handed it to her. This wind-walking technique was one of the 11 second-class martial arts manuals in the Holy Temple of Lanyan City. It was also the only martial arts manual known for its speed of cultivation. Ria took the martial arts manual with a face full of joy. Thank you, Master. The wind-walking technique is used to cultivate speed and attack methods. It will allow each of your attacks to be as fast as lightning. Furthermore, Ria, your strength is too weak. You can't become a first-class powerhouse with only speed but no strength. I will teach you another astral technique in the future. I hope you will practice it well and not be lazy. Thank you, Master. Ria understands. Zhang Wei rubbed his nose. He wanted to die, but he couldn't leave. Right now, Lin Muyu was like an umbrella protecting him. Once he left Lin Muyu, there was a high chance that Zhang Wei would be hunted down by the Hunters League. That was no laughing matter. In the blink of an eye, more than 8 hours had passed. Ria was indeed a martial arts prodigy. In just 8 hours, she had already comprehended the wind-walking technique and had gained some experience. Lin Muyu wasn't in a hurry. She first let her learn the wind-walking technique. When she had some small success in the wind-walking technique, she would teach her the astral technique to increase strength. The astral technique was domineering and vigorous. Complemented by great speed, it would have amazing power. As they were walking, a gurgling sound suddenly came from underground. What's that sound? It comes from underground. Ria bit her red lips and said, I've heard this sound once before. That time, 17 of Ariat's people were killed by the demons. What does this sound have to do with the demons? Lin Muyu was stunned. It's the queen insect that gives birth to the crypt demons. Zhang Wei frowned and said, Madam, let's go and find a cave to hide in. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be trouble tonight. The crypt demon's queen insect, I want to see it. Lin Muyu said lightly, 2 nights ago, it put us in such a difficult situation. It's impolite not to reciprocate. I want to see. As he spoke, he felt the queen insect's aura. He raised his hand and used the elephant's invisible art to move a boulder in front of him. Suddenly, a cave snaked into the depths of the ground. Lin Muyu even felt another aura. It was a very vigorous and vast power. You guys stay outside and wait for me. Yes, Master. You have to be careful. Don't worry. Lin Muyu unsheathed her sword and flew into the cave. Suddenly, everything turned dark. Accompanied by hissing sounds, the crypt demons guarding the cave rushed over, but they were all killed with a single slash. After Lin Muyu killed over 100 crypt demons, a bright light appeared in front of her. Sure enough, there was a huge insect lying there with a very high belly. This was her spawning period. In professional terms, this huge insect was the queen insect, and also one of the queens of this race. But the key point was that Lin Muyu felt a powerful force in the queen insect's body, a force that did not belong to the demons. A primordial stone, it must be a primordial stone. Hiss, the queen insect felt an enemy enter its nest and began to move its body to resist, but Lin Muyu was too fast. With a single slash, she sent the queen insect's head flying. She then opened her hand and the power of the Saint Martial surged as she shouted, "Come out! The queen insect's abdomen exploded, and a bright primordial stone floated in the air. Radiant primordial stone. Lin Muyu never thought that there would be such a pure radiant primordial stone in a place like this. After refining the primordial stone, she put it in her hand and quickly left the cave filled with a fishy smell. When Lin Muyu flew out, Zhang Wei was stunned when he saw the radiant primordial stone. My god, that is a god's gem? What god's gem? Lin Muyu was also stunned. Lord War God, the gem in your hand is a god's gem. I have seen it once in the alliance leader's hand. The god's gem is very precious, and it is a treasure that all lords fight for. This thing is called radiant primordial stone in the 6 realms. Lin Muyu put the primordial stone into her cosmos sack and said, this is something that I urgently need. Is there another place that has it? Ria shook her head, at a loss. Zhang Wei said, every insect queen needs a powerful source of power to hatch a powerful crypt fiend. According to this inference, every insect queen isn't a coincidence. We all have God's gem, but no one has ever obtained one from an insect queen before. Why? Zhang Wei had a helpless expression. Not everyone in the Eternal Sword region is as brave as you, Lord, daring to barge into a demon's nest alone, Lin Muyu said angrily. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go. We need to hurry and find a place to stay. I have just destroyed a demon's nest, and they might be looking for us to take revenge tonight. Yes. Zhang Wei was also very worried. 5 kilometers away, they found a valley and a secret cave in the valley. The 3 of them withdrew their auras and spent the night in the cave. This time, they did not dare to roast meat, afraid that the smell would attract the crypt demons. So, the 3 of them only ate some dry rations. In the middle of the night, a strong wind blew outside again, and the hissing of the crypt demons could be heard in the distance. They had formed groups and were searching for the whereabouts of the enemy. Leah was like a nimble bat on a rock at the entrance of the cave. After observing for a while, she floated over and sat beside Lin Muyu. Master, there are so many crypt demons, at least tens of thousands. The whole valley is full of them. They are pulling rocks and digging the ground to find us. I wonder if they will find us here. No, the crypt demons don't know how to climb trees or rock walls, and the cave we're in is on a rock wall. They won't be able to find us. Lin Muyu smiled confidently. She was still holding the Shenyuan sword and resting with her eyes closed. Leah smiled sweetly. All right, master. Uncle Zhang Wei, you go and guard the cave. Master and I will sleep for a while. Zhang Wei was unhappy. Why do I have to do something like keeping watch? Master, you are too tired from protecting us during the day, and I have to cultivate, so I am even more tired. You are the only one with nothing to do. If you don't do it, who will? Zhang Wei grinned. Little girl, you have a sharp tongue. I am not as hard as you. Chapter 12:20. Amidst the vast universe, beams of light flew into the domain formed by the heavenly sound scroll, creating ripples. As if falling into a pool of water, a few new names appeared one after another. How many is this? Fan Yang asked. Meiyu said, the third one, the third pillar deity within 2 days. Looks like the heavenly melody scroll is no longer stingy with the quota of pillar deities, sending 3 avatars in a row. I wonder what kind of experts they are. Luan Xing squinted his eyes and smiled. Han Zi, from the upper primordial realm, titled Sea God, in charge of the heavenly Tao of the ocean, a 3rd grade higher god. Tu Lei, from a plane under the jurisdiction of the western heaven realm, titled Summer God, a 1st grade middle god. Zhuoya, a newborn goddess from the wildlands of the north, titled God of Life, a 3rd grade higher god. Not long after, the 3 of them should be summoned by the heavenly sound scroll to ascend to the heaven realm and head to their respective god realms to participate in the god wars. Fan Yang smiled. It's a good thing that the heavenly sound scroll is no longer stingy. Miue said thoughtfully, I wonder how little junior brother is doing in the eternal sword domain. I can't sense his aura at all. Fan Yang comforted, junior sister Miue, don't worry too much. Little junior brother is talented and will definitely turn misfortune into fortune. Besides, with your cultivation, you naturally can't see the eternal sword domain. That's a place that only master's cultivation can compare to. Is that so? Miue turned to look at the mountain of gold, where Fushi stood majestically, silently looking at the vast universe. At this time, Fushi had already entered a meditative state, so it was not convenient for Miue to disturb him. She could only sigh and continue guarding the lonely land of gold. The Western Heaven realm was in charge of countless planes, and one of them was at the western border. It was a very small planet, about the same size as Earth. This plane was called Lost Chi, which meant tranquil and beautiful. It was probably because it was too far away that this plane was not affected by the demon realm. Mara's army did not even reach here. It was a summer night, and the sky was covered with layers of clouds. It seemed like a storm was coming, which made the people on the ground feel even hotter. The small village was peaceful, and the people were holding a bonfire party to celebrate the summer god. The summer god, the god of passion and harvest, was the most revered god in the whole continent. More importantly, after the opening of the Mahayana Heavenly Tao, a young man named Tully from Lasai obtained supreme power and the title of the summer god. Beside the bonfire, a group of people sat quietly at the edge of the laughter and cheers, savoring the food in their hands. It was a type of potato food, sweet and delicious. The firelight shone on the face of a young man. His face was still filled with respect. He said to the man in a cloak beside him, the heavenly sound scroll has been summoned. I plan to ascend to the heaven realm tomorrow. What do you think? The man in the cloak said lightly, this is your choice, why ask me? But, you are the ruler of the Western Heaven realm. Tully, you can only choose this kind of thing. The Western Heaven realm has long fallen, you really want to go? The heavenly sound scroll's decree is the heavenly Tao. I obtained the Dharmakaya because of the heavenly sound scroll, so I must go. Lord Ruler, do you have anything else to say? No, take care of yourself. The demon realm is everywhere in the heaven realm. Your power is like a firefly in the night, and can be extinguished by the storm at any time. I'm not afraid, I can definitely do it. I hope so. At this moment, the faint sound of thunder came from the clouds in the sky. One could even see the traces of bright dragon crystals. It was a sign that someone had penetrated through the layers of space walls. What's wrong? Tully was shocked. Someone is coming. No, it should be said that a god is coming. Claude's face, which was hidden under the cloak, showed a hint of shock. Who would be able to find a plane like Lash? He said. I'll go meet this person. Be careful. Yes. With a shout, Tully had already turned into a blazing flame and soared into the sky. A fiery sharp blade appeared in his hand, and he slashed at the person in the clouds. Hong. A golden light shone through the clouds. It was a beautiful woman in a cloak, holding a bright divine sword in her hand. Who else could it be but Qin Yin? Qin Yin, who had just successfully traversed through the plain, saw a young man pouncing on her with a fierce attack. Without thinking, she waved the East Flower sword and split it apart. Bang! Waves of air surged in the sky. With one blow, Tully was blasted back. Obviously, his mid-god body could not be compared to Qin Yin's high-god body. Buzz buzz buzz, golden flames circled around the long sword. Qin Yin looked at the person in front of her indifferently. Your body contains the power of the Mahayana Heavenly Tao. Who are you? Qin Yin, who was traversing, did not know about the new god. Why do you care who I am? What are you doing in Lost Chi? I'm looking for someone. Who? Claude. You're looking for the Lord Ruler? Tully gritted his teeth. I didn't expect there to be someone like you among the orthodox gods. Eat my blade. He suddenly raised his flaming longsword, and it was as if he had gathered all the heat in the summer. A suffocating power rushed towards Qin Yin. This god of summer's power was indeed not bad. At least, it was enough to make Qin Yin feel threatened. Unfortunately, the ability of Qin Yin's Dharmakaya was the power of order, and the power of the summer god was obviously one of the powers of order. With a casual glance from Qin Yin, the power of Tully's attack was instantly weakened by half. Qin Yin easily blocked Tully's long sword with a celestial dragon crystal. She raised her palm, and a terrifying power whistled out. Boom! Tully's body seemed to be on fire. He fell from the sky and fell straight into the forest at the edge of the village. But he was only injured, not dead. He turned over and stood up. With a fierce look in his eyes, he said, "I'm not afraid of you. Come on, kill me if you dare, you murderer from another world." Sure enough, he was still too young. Qin Yin didn't want to pay any attention to this summer god. She had already sensed Claude's whereabouts. She floated over and landed on the edge of the bonfire. The people who were dancing knelt on the ground, trembling. They had never seen a god before, and this kind of person who could fly in the air was a legendary god. Moreover, Qin Yin's power was extremely vast. It went without saying who she was. Protect the master. A group of crippled gods who originally belonged to the Western god realm pulled out their weapons and stood in front of Claude. Claude smiled bitterly. "Qin, so it's you, master, long time no see." Qin Yin stepped forward and gently pushed her palm outwards. Suddenly, people in front of her were swept away like leaves in a strong wind. When she came straight in front of Claude, she said, "Master, I came to Lost Qi on the order of the Seraph Shi Yen to ask you for something that originally belonged to the divine realm." "Oh?" Claude said lightly, "So Shi Yen is not dead yet. Big sister Shi Yen is not the only one who didn't die. Hua Hua, Li Fei, Terralyn and the others are also alive. Right now, we're working so hard to support the Western God realm, but we need even more resources. We don't have such precious resources, so we can only seek them from you, ruler. What is it that makes a graceful goddess like you come to such a remote and barren land?" "Light raw stones." "Why ask when you know the answer?" "Light raw stones?" Claude smirked and said, "Those radiant primordial stones belong to me in the first place. Why should I give them to you? Just because you are the righteous gods of the Mahayana heavenly Tao?" "No." Qin Yin shook her head and said, "The light raw stones do not belong to you. They belong to the Western Heaven realm. Since you have given up on the Western Heaven realm, then the light raw stones are only temporarily stolen by you. Return them to me. The Western Heaven realm needs these light raw stones to fight against the demon realm. I will not make things difficult for you because you were once the master. Unfortunately, you are too late." "Why?" "When we left the Western Divine realm, we were already chased by the demon realm. We lost most of the light raw stones along the way. Now, there are only a dozen or so light raw stones left in my hands." Qin Yin had already extended her spiritual sense. In a short period of time, she had investigated all the high-energy auras on this planet. Sure enough, it was as Claude said. There were only 12 light raw stones on this continent, and they were all in Claude's bag. "In that case, please return these 12 light raw stones to me." "Thank you, master." Qin Yin opened her hands. Claude sighed. He could only take out the stones from the bag and hand them over to Qin Yin. "Master Dominator." The group of useless gods glared at her. No one had expected Qin Yin to ask for the stones so directly. These stones were priceless treasures in the eyes of those who practiced the law of light. At this moment, a flame attacked from behind. It was summer deity Tully. "Have you had enough of this nonsense, summer deity?" There was a hint of anger in Qin Yin's eyes. She suddenly waved her palm behind her. With the celestial dragon crystal and the power of order, there was a loud bang. Summer deity Tully was sent flying with his sword. He smashed through 7 or 8 trees like a cannonball before stopping. For a moment, the forest was filled with the sound of trees falling and Tully's muffled groans. Claude and the rest of the useless gods were dumbfounded. They were both Mahayana heavenly Tao, but summer deity Tully was so vulnerable in front of a graceful goddess like Sheen. Sheen! Claude suddenly shouted. His voice was a little hoarse. What's the matter, Master Dominator? Can you really take back the Western Divine Realm? In his heart, Claude still yearned to go back. Sheen smiled slightly. I don't know. We are not confident, but we will try our best to fight against the demon realm. This is the mission of the Mahayana heavenly Tao. Master Dominator, no matter what you have instilled in summer deity, you should ask him to go to the divine realm as soon as possible. The divine realm needs his power. As summer deity, there is no reason for him to hide in this corner of the world. I know, Claude didn't say a word. Chapter 12:21. After Sheen left, Tully returned to Claude's side and said respectfully, Lord Juggernaut, who is this powerful woman? Why? Tully. Claude said, she is the goddess of grace, Sheen, also known as Sheen. She is Shi Yan's younger sister and was once one of the battle angels of the Western Divine Realm. From what Sheen said, Shi Yan and Eva have already begun to rebuild the Western Divine Realm. You are a god under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm. Go, do your best for the Mahayana heavenly Tao and the world. This is something you must do as the summer goddess. You are still young and have a long way to go. Work hard and you may be able to reach Sheen's level. Lord Juggernaut, Can I really do it? Rest for a night and ascend tomorrow morning. I believe that Shi Yan and Eva are waiting for you, the summer goddess. Yes, I understand. After Tully left, an old man in a black robe appeared behind Claude and said, Juggernaut, are you really going to hand over the Western Divine Realm to the two traitors, Shi Yan and Eva? What else can I do? Claude let out a bitter laugh. The era that belonged to me has already passed. I will accept my fate. Furthermore, I also hope that the Western God Realm can rise and prosper once more. Elder Kate, do you still remember when I was young? I once swore to become a great seraph and bring glory to the Western Divine Realm. After so many years, it seems that these vows have long been forgotten. It was only when I lost my power and everything that I remembered my promise. I don't want to get myself involved in that endless abyss again. Elder Kate smiled faintly and said, maybe you're right. Everyone has their own ambitions. Fine, let's see what Shi Yan and Eva can do. Don't worry. Since Sheen is already in the Western Divine Realm helping Shi Yan find the luminous primordial stone, it means that Tang Xiaoxi, who is almost inseparable from Sheen, is also in the Western Divine Realm. Perhaps the legendary martial god Lin Muyu is also working for the Western Divine Realm. Shi Yan will do it. She will do everything that I want to do but am unable to do, Elder Kate. A shooting star streaked across the sky and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Humans were like this, and so were gods. The only thing that never changed was the universe. The only difference between humans and gods was the length of their lifespans. However, in the vast river of time, their lifespans were as short as a firefly's beam or a small boat's leaf. In the shattered cauldron realm, the spirits of all living things were gradually recovering. In the forest, an old man sat quietly on a flat rock. Around him were the sounds of deer chirping and wild apples eating. Wisps of spiritual light lingered around him. The old man's hair and beard had long turned white, but his face was still very ruddy. The dragon bone staff in his hand was glowing faintly. Swoosh! A golden light fell from the sky and landed on him. He didn't even need to think to know what had happened. At that moment, he had an insight into the laws and the true meaning of the heavenly Tao. Around him, the barren grassland began to recover. The grass and leaves grew at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the area within a radius of a few miles had become a lush forest. It was very different from the early spring scenery in other regions. This was the power of recovery, and it was also the power that Choo Choo was about to obtain. Clang! There was a muffled sound of thunder in the sky. The heavenly melody scroll slowly unfolded, and Choo Choo's name was clearly written on it. Goddess Nuwas Dharmakaya appeared in the sky and said in an extremely calm voice, "Choo Choo, you have distanced yourself from disputes and have compassion for all living things. You have obtained the approval of the heavenly melody scroll of the Mahayana heavenly Tao. Today, I will bestow upon you the Dharmakaya of a first-tier middle god. You will be titled as the God of Recovery and will be bestowed with the power of recovery. I hope that you will inherit the heavenly Tao and protect the Mahayana heavenly Tao for all living things in the world." Swoosh! A huge golden figure seeped into Choo Choo's body. That was his Dharmakaya. In the blink of an eye, Choo Choo seemed to have become much younger. His hair had turned white, and his face was rosier. He said joyfully, "Thank you, Goddess, for bestowing this Dharmakaya. Choo Choo will do his best to subdue demons and devils for all living things." Goddess Nuwa's figure slowly faded away. Choo Choo stood up and looked at the animals gathering around him. He smiled and said, "All of you, go and start your new life. It's time for me to leave. The heaven realm needs the strength of this old bag of bones." The deer, rabbits, and other animals seemed to understand Choo Choo's words and dispersed one after another. Choo Choo took a deep breath and soared into the sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Tianji City. Amidst the pavilions, a handsome man looked up at the sky and said, "Another one who has ascended to become a god. It's Choo Choo. Even Choo Choo has ascended. We, the younger generation, are still idling around here waiting to die. Prince Exian, what are you saying?" Lin Sun smiled and said, "Choo Choo's name has long spread across the world. It's only a matter of time before he gets his Dharmakaya. Moreover, we're not idling around here waiting to die." Feng Jixing smiled and said, "Zhang Wei, how's the military situation at the eastern battlefield?" Zhang Wei cupped his fists and said, "There's not much resistance at all. After Qin Yu's henchmen were wiped out, basically all the provincial governors of the Celestial Empire surrendered at the mere sight of us. They don't dare to resist the cavalry of our imperial guards at all. That's within expectations." Feng Jixing's lips curled up and he said, "We must pacify the entire realm within a month. Do you understand?" "Yes, we don't need a month. Half a month will do." At the side, Guan Xing cupped his fists and said, "Prince Exian, I have something to say." "Mister, please speak." After discussion, the Congress decided to establish 2 great congresses 2 days ago. After the vote, Guo Huaili will be appointed as the chief of the Lanyan City Imperial Congress, ruling over the entire Shattered Cauldron realm. Meanwhile, the deputy chief, Jiang Qi, will rush to the Celestial Pole Continent as soon as possible to take up the position of the chief steward of the Celestial Pole Continent's Congress, taking charge of all the political affairs in the Celestial Pole Continent. Feng Jixing furrowed his brows and sat down on the railing, remaining silent. Zhang Wei said, "This so-called Congress is just creating trouble." Before Her Highnessing left, she clearly said that all the important military and political affairs in the Celestial Pole Continent will be managed by Prince Exian alone. Why is this Jiang Qi creating trouble again? Feng Jixing nodded and said, "The 4th clause of the Empire's constitution states that all the political affairs shall be managed by the Congress. It's within expectations that they'll send Jiang Qi to take charge of the political affairs. It seems that it's just as you said. Guo Huaili, that old fox, is already taking charge of all the political affairs in the world." Lin Sun's gaze was filled with killing intent. "Why don't I send someone to the Shattered Cauldron realm to kill Guo Huaili?" "No." Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Now that the world is stable, the commoners need a stable life. Guo Huaili has long been recognized by the commoners as the most capable subject in the world. If we were to get rid of Guo Huaili now, it'd mean that we become enemies with all the people in the world and become the criminal warlords that you spoke of. Let's just bear with it. It's fine as long as Guo Huaili doesn't go overboard." As for that Jiang Qi, if he wants to take charge of the political affairs in the celestial pole continent, then let him do so. I'm happy to see Xiao Yao. But, Zhang Wei said, are we just going to let these vile people defecate and piss on our heads? Feng Jixing smiled. If he really dares to defecate, then I'll help him support him. Zhang Wei, you old brat, remember this. Don't mess things up. It's easy to kill Guohuaili, but once you kill one, a second Guohuaili will soon appear. From the previous emperor until now, Jin Yifan, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Zhuang Yan, and so on have appeared one after another. Which one of them isn't a person that no one dares to approach for a while? But now, where are they? There'll always be someone controlling the political affairs, and we can't kill them all. What we can do now is to respect him a little, and he has to respect us a little. I understand. Oh right, is there any news from Lanyan City? Are Chu Yao, Wei Chou, and the others all right? They've arrived at Lanyan City safely. Guan Xing smiled. Don't worry about that. Great Deacon Chu Yao is the person in charge of the spiritual medicine department, and she's protected by the Dragon League experts. Lord Wei Chou is the commander of the Longdan army camp, known as the commander with the strongest military force. Guohuaili wouldn't dare to touch the Longdan army camp even if he had 10,000 guts. Yes, that's right. Feng Jixing nodded. Times had changed. Back then, Zhuang Yan dared to act like a tyrant because he had 700,000 soldiers and had internal and external troubles. But now it was different. The world was stable, and the Longdan army camp was the strongest army in the world. 200,000 soldiers guarded Lanyan City all year round, serving as the Imperial Guards and Imperial Guards. It could be said that Wei Chou controlled the military affairs of the entire Shattered Tripod realm single-handedly, and he also had the support of famous generals such as Ding Shi and Tang Jin. Guohuaili could at most be in charge of political affairs, but he definitely couldn't be in charge of military affairs. Lin Sun suddenly coughed and said, General Feng, have you agreed to Miss Si Kongyao's matchmaking for you? What did you say? Feng Jixing was dumbfounded. Lin Sun said, that, it's the Empire's Shang Li Shang Qian. Miss Si Kongyao said that as long as you give the word, she'll go and lobby for you. Shang Qian is also single now. She's pretty and rich. If I were you, I'd marry her. Marry your granny. Feng Jixing said, I can do whatever I want to do happily and freely by myself. Why do I have to marry a wife and have her manage me? You guys are still too young. Moreover, Shang Qian isn't my type. Then, what type does your highness like? Someone with a good disposition, a pretty face, big breasts, a good figure, a good temper, understanding, not clingy, and not mischievous. What do you guys have to introduce? Zhang Wei grinned. Drunken Cloud Brothel's little Yanxiang, all right. Feng Jixing clapped his hands and smiled. Settle all the military affairs before dinner and then go. Yes, your highness is wise. Guan Xing was speechless. He said in a low voice, how are they going to ascend to the Mahayana heavenly way if they're like this? Another night had fallen in the eternal sword domain. This time around, they did not stay in the mountains. After all, it was too dangerous. Lin Muyu, Lia, and Zhang Wei stayed in a tavern. This kind of tavern was protected by thick stone walls. It was like an ancient castle that could withstand the invasion of demons. It was a place that travelers often stayed in. However, the fees were very high. A single person did not need to pay for a night, but they had to pay 15 jin of food. In the Eternal Sword domain, food was money, and it was even more useful than gold coins. Lin Muyu paid the price of 2 bare legs to stay in the tavern. It was already a blessing from the heavens to be able to spend the night in peace. Chapter 1222. The tavern was called Shun Feng Tavern. In the Eternal Sword domain, there were countless taverns like this. There was an endless stream of travelers, and the tavern always made a killing. Lin Muyu, Lia, and Zhang Wei sat at a table by the fireplace. They used the flames in the fireplace to bake some flatbread, and then ate the vegetable soup and roasted meat sold by the tavern. There were about 20 tables scattered in the tavern's main hall, but there were not many customers. Only 5 or 6 tables were occupied. Most of them were people eating with their heads lowered, preparing to head upstairs to rest. Ta. Zhang Wei gently placed the bowl of soup on the table and said in a low voice, "My lord, it seems that we have been targeted. The people at the table in the corner are hunters. I think I've seen one of them before. He has noticed me too. Don't act rashly." Lin Muyu said, "Ignore them. Unless they are prepared to make a move, we will leave tomorrow at daybreak. Don't cause too much trouble." At this time, 5 or 6 martial artists at another table were already drunk. One of them said, "I heard that this afternoon, the people at the Chechen mine dug up a demon's lair. When they opened the entrance, the workers were scared out of their wits. They abandoned the mine and ran away. The mine owner was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. He spent so much money to dig up a demon's lair. What bad luck. He can only blame himself for running into a demon. He was lucky enough to keep his life." That's right. Lin Muyu frowned and said in a low voice, "The Chechen mine. Zhang Wei, do you know where this mine is?" "It's not far. It's about 5 kilometers away." "Why, does my lord want to go there?" "I need radiant primordial stones. I won't let go of any of them." Ria couldn't help but laugh. Others can't wait to hide when encountering a crypt demon. "Who would come looking for it yourself, master?" Zhang Wei rubbed his nose. "To be honest, the crypt fiends can't hurt my lord. The disparity in strength is too great. However, the mine owner should have sent someone to guard it. Moreover, the news has already spread. There are definitely many people from all over who want to excavate the crypt fiend's lair. After all, a god's gem isn't an ordinary item. It's priceless. A god's gem is worth around 30,000 gold taels. Even if you open 10 mines, you might not be able to earn that much. Are you saying that there will be people going to the demon's lair like us every day at dawn?" "Yes. If I'm not mistaken, this group of people's target is also the demon lair." Zhang Wei pointed to a few tables not far away and said, "Good men and women are already asleep at home. Who would come to such a barren mountain? Those who dare to come here must not be afraid of death. Just wait and see, tomorrow will definitely be lively." Ria blinked. "Master, are we still going?" "Sure, why not? All right." In order to save money, the 3 of them stayed in a room. There was only a small vent in the room, and the wind howled. The only bed was given to Ria. Lin Muyu sat on the windowsill and cultivated the whole night. Zhang Wei leaned against the door and slept the whole night. In fact, everyone was already used to this kind of life. One night with or without a bed. The next morning, they woke up early and drank the rough wild vegetable soup cooked by the innkeeper. It made them feel nauseous. After leaving the tavern, they headed straight for the mine. It didn't take long for them to travel 10 miles. When they arrived, it was already sunrise. Once the sun rose, the demons wouldn't easily leave their lair. They hated sunlight, just like how people feared the dark. As expected, when Lin Muyu and the others arrived at the mine, the wooden fence around the perimeter had already been torn down. The ground was full of messy hoof prints. It was already hot. There was only one pit and one entrance, but now it was surrounded by dozens of people. A few of them were from the tavern last night, and a few others seemed to be from the Hunters' Union. Zhang Wei couldn't help but chuckle. The leader of the Hunters' Union, Luo Xingji, had already ordered the members of the Hunters' Union not to participate in commercial cooperation, and it was obvious that these hunters had been hired. "Who are you?" "Stop." 2 warriors came over with swords in their hands and shouted from afar, "This mine is under our control. Unauthorized people, leave immediately. Rhea laughed. I remember that this area doesn't belong to anyone. Why do we have to leave when you control it? Besides, why are you so overbearing? Because we are from the Tiger Plain. Can we? One of them looked very arrogant. The Tiger Plain? Lin Muyu frowned. She had no idea what that was. Zhang Wei explained in a low voice, the Tiger Plain is a force in the Eternal Sword region. They have always been robbing people for a living. They recruit disciples everywhere, and their power is getting bigger and bigger. They even dare to challenge the City of Dawn and the Hunters' Union. But in fact, the Tiger Plain force is just a clown. Everyone knows that. What did you say? Someone from the Tiger Plain shouted angrily. I think you are tired of living. Wait a minute. This person was about to attack. Behind him, a person wearing the hunter's badge walked over. He held a broadsword in his hand and smiled calmly. Zhang Wei, it's really you. Zhang Wei squinted his eyes. Long Yu, it's you. This person called Long Yu was not weaker than Zhang Wei. He did not move the broadsword in his hand, but his fighting spirit had already spread. However, he could not see through Lin Muyu's cultivation. His intuition told him that this person did not have any cultivation at all. The only person he had to be wary of was the pretty little girl. So, he did not take Lin Muyu seriously. He said in a low voice, Zhang Wei, didn't you lead your team out to hunt? Why are you suddenly here? And your team has not returned for many days. My team has been destroyed, Zhang Wei said calmly. Ah. Long Yu was a little surprised. That can't be. Your team is full of top-notch experts. Who could have destroyed your team? Although Long Yu looked surprised, the flash of ridicule in his eyes did not escape Lin Muyu's eyes. He was obviously taking pleasure in Long Yu's misfortune. Zhang Wei waved his hand angrily. Don't mention it. After my team was destroyed, I did not dare to return to the headquarters. I could only wander outside and make new companions. But you, Long Yu, you are an outstanding hunter in our alliance. Why did you come here to help people rob others? Moreover, your partner is the ferocious Tiger Plain that has repeatedly disrespected the Hunter Alliance. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food. Long Yu smiled faintly. You won't report the news of my cooperation with the ferocious Tiger Plain to the higher-ups, will you? No, it has nothing to do with me. Zhang Wei smiled slightly. But, we are here for the god's gem in the devil's lair. Since we are already here, it is not good for you to stop us outside, right? Sigh, Long Yu waved his hand. You are treating me like an outsider. It is not that I am stopping you, but everything is first come, first served, right? This devil's lair was discovered by us first, so we should be the first to search. Moreover, the crypt demons inside are not to be trifled with. The 4 experts of the ferocious Tiger Plain, Heaven, Earth, Unity, and Longevity, have already entered. There will be results soon. If you enter at this time, it is unreasonable. Please give me, Long Yu, a little face and wait here for a little longer. You, Zhang Wei was angry, but he was too embarrassed to force his way in. At this time, Lin Muyu smiled mysteriously. Lord Long Yu, if your people cannot subdue the demons in the lair, will it be our turn? Of course. Long Yu raised his eyebrows. But don't worry, young hero. The 4 experts of the ferocious Tiger Plain, Heaven, and Earth will definitely complete their mission. The 4 of them once fought a crypt demon and killed hundreds of them. They have long been famous in the Eternal Sword domain. Flattening a mere devil's lair will be as easy as stepping on mud. Very well, we shall wait and see. Lin Muyu led Rhea to the entrance of the devil's lair. The rest of the ferocious Tiger Plain people and hunters watched them warily, but did not make a move. After all, Long Yu was the real leader. How many people went in? Zhang Wei asked. Long Yu replied, 21 hunters, the 4 experts of the ferocious Tiger Plain, and another 14 experts. That's a total of 39 experts. Put them down. With so many well-trained experts, flattening a mere devil's lair will be a piece of cake. Let's hope so. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. What, you don't think so? We will know soon enough. Lin Muyu pulled Ria back a few steps and signaled Zhang Wei to step back as well. It was not that he was looking down on the 4 experts' strength. The 4 experts of the ferocious tiger plane underground were at least at the level of a first-year lower god, but the presence in the devil's lair made Lin Muyu feel that the 4 experts' days of power were over. That presence was awakening quickly, and it was growing rapidly. It was different from the crypt demon and the queen worm. It was a stronger existence. As expected, screams soon came from underground as if someone had died in battle. Then there was a faint beast-like roar. It was definitely not the voice of the crypt demon. Long Yu's face was a little confused, and he held his sword tighter. Ria was a little nervous and asked, "Master, what's going on down there?" "Massacre, a massacre." Lin Muyu's eyes were cold as she said, "Be careful, they will come out soon." The so-called 4 experts and the hunter are definitely not a match for the monster underground. Monster. Ria said, "Is it a demon?" "Maybe, maybe not. I don't know." Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. After all, he had just arrived here. How could he know so much when he was in the Eternal Sword domain? At that moment, there was a sudden bang. A person was thrown out of the cave. Only half of his body was left, and the lower half had been bitten off. He was already dead. It was a terrifying scene. Long Yu's voice was trembling. Isn't this the longevity expert? It seems that he did not live long." Lin Muyu's eyes were calm. "It's coming out. Be careful." You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.